Right.
Okay, good morning. Monday, March 27, 2017. We're calling the regular scheduled Commissioners Court to order. We'll start with the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam DA.
Thank you. Please pray with me. Oh, Father God, we thank you so much for this wonderful day. We thank you so much for everything that you have blessed us with, as you continue to bless us every single day. We thank you, Father God, for allowing us to come here to do the county's business. We ask, Father, that you protect all of our first responders, from our sheriff's department, our police department, DPS, everybody involved in law enforcement, and especially to those men and women serving our country here and overseas. Be with them, Father. Let them know your peace. I pray that we do your work today, Father, and we do your work every day. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Well, good morning. Please turn off your cell phones and pagers except for emergency personnel and law enforcement. And kind of some ground rules today. We have a number of visitors and speakers and a rather lengthy agenda for the court's information and others. Item 37 takes place at 1:30 because of some travel arrangements. So we'll probably break for lunch and then come back. And then there was one other item that I haven't heard from the individual today, but maybe we will hear so before we get through. Okay, item number 3, acknowledge the impacts of the month. Amanda Roper from the library. Mr. T, good morning.
Judge, Commissioners, we're glad to recognize, honored to have Amber Roper as Impacts of the Month from the library. She's been with the county a long time, and I'm just going to read a little bit from her nomination form, which was submitted by Valerie Rodriguez, who couldn't be here this morning, but she kind of oversees the bookmobile for us. But she says that since she started working as the bookmobile manager, there was one stop in particular that never attended due to being kind of just the old stop of Amber and Jessica, the former managers, but they loved the Desert Gardens Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. That Amber still wanted to go on the stop. She was told that that these patrons look forward to the bookmobile coming to this stop all day long. Many of them are unable to care for themselves or leave the facility, and that this bookmobile stop provides such a huge impact, and that is the highlight of their day. Amber will sit and handwrite each book title, DVD, audiobook request that these patrons have. She says, I don't care if it takes all day, I will stay as long as they need because this is all that they have. Amber's compassion and respect are being too much admired. She is a true example of the 6 county values for the impacts, and so I'm pleased to present Amber Roper as the Employee of the Month.
Good morning, Amber.
Let's put it this way. Amber, would you please say something?
Thank you very much.
This would be your time to tell a story about John.
No, that's not.
That would be. We have a certificate to commemorate this day, and you're much to be congratulated. We have a little goodie kit. And Johnny, tell us what else this lady's won.
She gets to go back to work.
A parking spot?
Oh, yes, yeah, a parking spot
And money?
downtown.
Money?
Money, got money in the, or it's coming, gift card.
Any kind of roses or any kind of like that kind
Not
of
that
stuff?
I'm aware of, no.
It's a gift card to Roses.
Oh, gift card to Roses? I thought he meant roses.
She received the Roses gift card. She also received an invitation to come put her handprint on the honor wall here in the lobby of the courthouse. And she got a polo shirt and a lanyard. She got a lot of nice little goodies.
But Amber,
Thank you
congratulations.
very much.
Thank you, Amber.
And Judge, also with that, at each of the commissioner stations, there's a plaque for each of you for your support in this program. We really appreciate your support and encouragement with the Impacts program. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All
It
right.
looks like. Thank you.
Item 4, discuss take action on proclamation for National Crime Victims' Rights Week. And Ms. Peak, here you are.
Yes.
Good morning.
Once more. This year, our theme for National Crime Victims' Rights Week is Strength, Resilience, and Justice. And I'm going to introduce Tom Cooper, who is the Victim Services Person with the DPS. He is our chairman this year, and he will tell you about the rest of the ceremony.
Okay. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Thank you very much. One of the beautiful things about our great state of Texas is that in Texas, victims have rights. You may not realize this, but in some states, crime victims are not mandated rights. In Texas, they are mandated rights. I have personally experienced that in the states where they're not mandated, crime victims are not treated as, I would say, valued customers. In Texas, they're valued customers. We do value them, we honor them, we respect them, we try to take care of them and meet their needs. In some states, that's not the case. In some states, they're more of an annoyance to the judicial system. So, in April, every year, we celebrate National Crime Victim Rights Week, and this year it's April the 2nd through the 8th. So on April the 4th, we will have a ceremony at the Midland College Dolly Neal Chapel at 1:30 p.m. And so that's the reason we're here today, and that's the reason that we request the proclamation. And we want to thank you, and we want to invite all of you, if you would like to, or if you're able to attend, we would invite all of you to be there as we honor Crime Victims' Rights Week. Thank you.
Tom,
Have some
tell us what,
questions.
Tom,
Yes.
what time is it?
1:30 p.m. on April the 4th.
April 4th.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the court? We just happen to have a proclamation since we support this energetically every year. And if there is a motion, we'll go ahead and finish signing this.
I would be glad to make that motion, Judge, to adopt it.
Okay?
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
All right.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Phyllis? You would like this. Does that work?
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Good.
you.
Always so kind to listen to us each year.
Thank you.
You're kind to keep this alive, so. Thank you. Number 5, discuss take action on proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hello. Yeah. Shelley Worrell. I'm back again, and I've
Morning.
got a few board members. Of course, you know Barbara Yarborough, and Tricia Nelson, and Claire Nelson. So we're very happy to be back here again. And as you know, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, so we just wanted to update you a little bit on where we're at and the things we've been doing this year. And just, again, thank you very much for the county's support. I wanted to let you know that with county funds, we've bought clothing, school uniforms, things like that for over 65 children in care. And with our 501c3 funds that we've raised, that total comes up to about 90 kids that we've shopped for this year. And so these ladies do an awesome job shopping and spending a lot of time working with purchasing and things like that to get those clothes items bought for children in care. The second thing a lot of our money goes for the money that you provide us goes for is birthday and Christmas gifts. So we try to recognize every child in care during the month of their birthday with a gift card. And then at Christmas, we also get them a gift card. So
Can I add one little story to that? One of the workers, one child came into care in early February, and she didn't receive any Christmas presents. She said she'd never received any Christmas presents, which probably could be correct. She was 11 years old, and it also happened to be she was taken into care on her birthday. And so, we got her what she had wanted for her birthday, and she was just in tears. She was just so elated that somebody cared enough about her to give her a birthday
Yeah,
present.
I
And we
did-
often get very, very sweet notes from the children back.
As it should be.
Yeah, so I did write a little letter and summarize some of our activities, which I have one for each
Please.
of you. And I did mention that this girl wanted rollerblades, and that was something we fulfilled, and that was
Now,
really.
you said this girl and you pointed to Barbara. You want rollerblades, Barbara?
So,
And one of the things that they failed to tell you, these are, if you ever have time on your hand, give these ladies when they're making, tying the blankets. I don't mind cutting, but I don't tie. And they make blankets for every child. How many did you make this year?
130, 120.
Wow.
Goodness.
Christmas.
For Christmas.
And then there's two other things I'd like to point out. One, we added this year, trying to recognize families who adopt foster children. And so far since January 1st, there's been 13 adoptions, counting 2 today. So we're trying to give them like a memory book or box, a first family photo album or something, photo frame, and a gift card or cash for their first family dinner together. So we're just trying to recognize, these families that are taking people and are taking these kids and adopting them. So that's something new this year. And I guess the other thing I didn't point out, with the funds that we raise through our 501c3, we also get a ton of requests for sports camps, extracurricular activities, cribs, car seats. Many of the children in care are with their families. That's a priority for CPS. They're with, extended family members or something, and those family members do not receive funds from the state. So, sometimes we'll get fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, something that they have to have in order to be able to keep these children in their home that they're just doing out of the goodness of their heart. So that is a lot of what our 501c3 money goes for, is for these extras, these things like that, for kinship homes, and of course foster families if they need it as well, but we really like to help the kinship homes. So that's one point. One more thing.
Take your time.
Our Blue Ribbon Run is April 8th this year, so that's just a couple weeks, which is another reason why we're here now, is we wanted to point out that that's our biggest fundraiser for the year. And we'd like to extend an opportunity for county employees to provide 10 free entries if anybody's interested.
Sure.
And also have a discount code if those 10 entries get used up. So I wanted to see if there's a way we could email the information to a person about that.
Yes, if you would give that to Jenny, and then we'll get it out on our internal social media.
Okay, yeah. I'll
what we
email
can
you,
do.
Jenny, with the information. Okay. And then,
Shelley, what time does that start?
it's at, this year it's at Memorial Stadium, so we're going to run through Old Midland, and it's at, the run begins at 9 a.m., but we'll be there at 7:30 for registration on the 8th. But if you go to our website, midlandchildwelfare.com, then we'll set it up with a discount code or, 10 free entries for county employees to be able to go register. And if you register before next Wednesday, the 5th, I believe it is, then you can get your packet pickup and your T-shirt ahead of time, on Friday, and not have to mess with lines and things like that on Saturday. But yeah, it's Saturday morning, April 8th at Memorial Stadium, Garfield and
And
Cuthbert.
what about your event on April 11th?
Yes.
What time is that?
So April 11th is the citywide child abuse awareness event that involves CASA and CPS and all sorts. That's at 6 p.m. at Midland College on April 11th. And so there'll be free food, music, a balloon release, just trying to kick off Child Abuse Prevention Month and raise awareness of the issues.
Okay. Shelley, give us a flavor for what your numbers are. Are they holding steady, unfortunately? Are they decreasing, maybe?
Yeah.
Are they?
Well, we have over 120 children in care. Since first year, 13 have been adopted. But it generally stays right around that 120 mark. And the other interesting thing about that is about half the kids that are taken in Midland County are not actually placed in Midland County
Right.
due to the lack of foster families or treatment centers or whatever they might need. So, but it has stayed pretty flat. We haven't seen a report since we've had all these adoptions, but,
Okay.
it's still around over 100 for sure.
A message of encouragement from the county. Since you were here last year, we have, a couple of members of the court are involved in the CASA efforts, but more particularly, we have some employees in the workforce that are now certified foster care families.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, it's heartwarming for that, but it's also kind of funny to watch them come in since they don't have any children of that age, and they got the droopy eyeballs and
Yeah,
they're
they have a
dragging,
lot of-
and what happened?
I'm
Well,
sure
I
they
got
have
to,
some
yeah.
trials and tribulations.
But that's a good conversation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we're glad to have it. Anybody else care to say anything?
Yeah.
No, we just thank you for your
Yes,
continued.
thank you
bet.
very much.
Oh,
very
Oh.
necessary.
one thing.
Go ahead.
This young lady, tell her how she is the reason we have Blue Ribbon Run, a
true.
scouting project.
So when I was in high school, and this is my mother, she's been on the board for 15 years, and Barbara's been on for just a couple years. And so I had always watched my mom be on the board and all the great work that she did. And so I was a Girl Scout in high school, and the biggest award that you can receive as a Girl Scout is the Gold Award. And so me and one other Girl Scout, we chose to start the Blue Ribbon Run as an awareness event for the Child Welfare Board. So that was 9 years ago, and I went off to school and moved back to Midland, and what better way to continue that than to join the Child Welfare Board? So I've been on for a couple more years, and I'm very, happy that they have continued the run. So next year will be the 10-year anniversary, so we'll have a big blowout for that.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Lee, and then I went to TCU.
Oh, yeah.
So
Quality.
thank you for making me point that out. So thank you all for all of your support. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for what y'all do. It's a tough job, but thank goodness you step up, do it.
Good job. Thank you.
Barbara, I hope you get your rollerblades. Yeah, don't walk off. You came for this, so.
Anybody got a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for this proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Okay.
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes, and you have the proclamation.
So we have a certificate commemorating this day, and how many people are in your group altogether?
14.
14. Well, that's great. Y'all are a highlight of our year. We enjoy having you come here. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
you can be a spotter
Spot
that morning.
like this?
And I would like to point out, if there are people who are not runners, everyone is welcome at our event. You could walk the 1K. It's, less than a mile, I think. Or, we always need volunteers, and we also have, thank you. We also have a sleep-in sponsor option. You can register online and just donate $20, and you don't even have to show up. So,
$2 a K.
Thank you. Thanks, Shelley.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy.
Yes.
Okay, item 7, discuss take action on court minutes from March 13th, 2017. They're in your packet.
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 7, discuss take action allowing Midland County to pay travel expenses, membership fees for Linda Montgomery, David Dickerson, Ricky Navarrete, and Christine Swartz to attend the National Veterans Court Conference. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. I have an amendment to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Autocorrect, change Derrickson to Dickinson.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
it's really David Derrickson and Linda Montgomery, who I'm seeking approval for.
Okay. If you'd note that in the minutes, that was an autocorrect, not,
Yes, it wasn't my
misspell.
mistake, of course.
no, so we can go ahead and act on it.
That's right, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Derrickson, Derrickson.
Mhm.
And also Rick Navarrete and Christine Swartz are unable to go. So I'm really just seeking approval for the two, David Derrickson and Linda Montgomery. Furthermore, I have discovered that if I pay if we pay a $60 registration fee, no, $60 membership fee, that then the registration is only $600, so you save a net $40. So what I really want to do is pay $600 registration fee and a $60 joining the group fee. That makes it a little bit less for, and those numbers are just approximates because you know how hotels, especially in Washington DC, and transportation in Washington DC, we really don't know exactly what it will be, but we'll try to stay within this.
Okay. And a little background, because they're not county employees, they have to go through some recognized arrangement with the court. And I think you saw this, didn't you?
Yes, they haven't signed it yet, but they will
No.
before any funds are expended.
But this is much like we did for, help me, Jenny, we did this in one other department,
Well, we've done it.
Mental health court?
mental health court.
There were,
Okay.
Russell was on agreement.
Okay, so this is the agreement that allows us to do that, should we act in 2 phases. One, declare it a public good for reasons of court support probably, and secondly, approve them by name.
Right, and I think we have also done this for Veterans Treatment Court before we actually got started. We visited 2 other VTCs,
Yeah.
and some of the team went to those.
Okay,
If you have any questions.
Where
I'm
will the
happy to
funds
answer.
come from, Judge?
Pardon?
Where will the funds come from?
From the Veterans Treatment Court budget,
It's already in the budget?
yes.
Okay.
I'm just seeking your approval because they're not county
Right.
employees.
right. Any discussion or motions? The first object is to determine a public good.
I will make that motion that we declare this as a public good in that the training of these 2 members will greatly enhance the operation of Judge Darr's court and help our veterans.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we got a public good. Now what do we want to do?
Make a motion that we approve the funds for the travel for these 2 individuals
And for the record, Randy, you want to go ahead and say where the money's coming from?
from the Veterans
treatment.
Court budget.
Okay?
Second.
You're on a roll. You got multiple seconds. Motion in multiple seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes, and you're good to go, Judge. Do you have a copy of this agreement? I think you've
I think
seen-
it's been emailed to me.
Okay, if you can get that done and get those back to the auditor so she'll have the proper names.
I will do it.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Number 8, discuss take action on grade and step for bailiff in 142nd District Court, Judge Gillis. And Judge Gillis, unfortunately, lost a longtime bailiff who moved, and he's here to tell you what he's got in mind. And the good part, we may invite him back every court meeting, is what he's talking about is inside of his budget. There's no additional funds needed. Judge?
Correct. Good morning, Commissioners, Your Honor.
Morning.
The 142nd District Court has been without a bailiff since the first of the year. Robert Caruth faithfully served the 142nd for 24 to 25 years. And while we miss him, we have wished him well on his endeavors. His wife got a transfer with the United States District Clerk's Office and moved to San Antonio. and he felt like it was good that he followed, and I agree with that. But the court has been without a bailiff. The court, back through our HR department, advertised for the position. Many applicants came forward, all of whom had 15, 20 or more years of law enforcement experience. I think everyone had a master's law enforcement certificate, but to some degree, I believe the 142nd was priced out of the market in that grade 18, step 1 was below what virtually everyone was making. And so the court, the 142nd District Court is asking this court to allow that step to be increased to step 8 because I believe that these people have the experience and the ability to serve the court well. They bring with them, all of them bring with them, and I have some people in mind to make the offer to, but I did not want to make the offer until such time as the court had the ability to make what I thought was an appropriate offer. The court's budget is in excess of this amount as to the base salary for Mr. Caruth because he had been with the county so very long. But his base salary is in excess of this base salary. I want to publicly thank all of the folks who have served the 142nd District Court as an interim bailiff. During this time, our regular bailiffs pitched in, checked in on us, made sure things were going smoothly, in addition to our interim bailiffs who came on from the outside. So we are in short supply of relief bailiffs, and hopefully we can begin to correct that relatively quickly, because you know, the safety of an individual court also reflects the safety of the entire courthouse and the community that works here and the people who come to seek our services.
Judge, the individual that you shared with me you're looking at has how many years of service in the arena that they'd be working in?
Over 15 years of law enforcement service, holding a master's certificate, also certified instructor with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement.
So the point to that is the 18-1's an entry level with no experience.
Right.
He's found somebody that's willing to do it if the salary can get at least reasonable with what's being offered to him. So
I think so.
Okay. Any questions of the judge?
And it is within the current budget. Would not, in fact, it's a decrease from the current budget for the 142nd.
I'd make the motion that we approve 18 step 8 for the bailiff in the 142nd District Court.
I'm sorry, I need to make a correction. I misspoke. It's step 7.
Step 7. It's even better.
Okay.
I knew that'd make you happy.
Yeah, with the qualifications that you specified.
Okay.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. There you go, Judge.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate it.
Thank
We'll
you.
get this taken care of as soon as possible. May I be excused?
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Number 9, receive presentation from Vive. I hope I'm saying that right. Vive Events. Brett, you come and I haven't got to talk to you directly. We kind of talked through Dale a little. And let me give you some explanation of why you were asked to come to court, because you're a private enterprise. In West Texas, which, as far as I know, your event has not been out here, we are very concerned and attentive to issues that deal with open range land, because the site I'm going to describe, you don't ever want to see again if a pipeline or a derrick catches on fire.
Definitely.
So that's kind of why you're here. But go ahead, please.
So first, my name is actually Derek. Brett was unavailable to come out this weekend. It's his birthday yesterday, and his wife had some plans.
So we'll change Brett to Derek.
Yeah, thank you. But like you said, I represent 5 events, and we are interested in bringing our main event called the Lights Fest out to Midland, Texas. We are in kind of tentative talks with Fiddlesticks Farms on the east side of town. And we, our event, to kind of explain a little bit, is a large public outdoor event centered on kind of inviting or having families and friends come out to provide an opportunity to remember. Our festival is a flying lantern festival, so that does raise a lot of concerns with people. But we have engineered our lanterns to be kind of festival ready, I guess you can say. They're not like typical lanterns that you can just go buy on Amazon, or like you see in the Disney movie Tangled. They don't fly around everywhere. We've engineered them to go about a quarter of a mile based on our normal winds that we fly under. And really it provides people an opportunity, like I said, to remember lost loved ones, or to set new goals, have new beginnings. And for many people that come out, it turns kind of into a, for lack of a better word, kind of a spiritual opportunity to kind of move forward in life and with a new mindset. We do like to involve the community as much as possible. We like to hire local sheriffs to come and help with traffic and security. Part of our requirements is that we do work with local fire departments to be on site and available and ready in case there is some kind of mishap or things like that. We bring in local food vendors, as well as we hire local services from portable restrooms to water trucks to and any other kind of like booth vendors as well, because we really do see the positive impact it can be for a community. I believe that's kind of the rough picture. I do have a video. Were we able to find that one or no?
We have it. We're just in the process of transitioning.
No, that's totally fine.
Our audio and video equipment, and we're working on it.
Okay, Derek, in the meantime.
Yeah, we can ask you some questions while they're getting ready. Go ahead, Luis.
My question is, when is this festival supposed to be taking place? Around what time during the year?
We're kind of the date that Fiddlesticks had available tentatively was the 12th of August. So we do recognize that that's a pretty warm month. But that was, our Brett, who was scheduling the event, felt like that was kind of worked really well with the venue, as well with us, as well as a time where they felt like they can provide a safe environment.
Okay.
The other question that I have, and I think, Dale, you might have to help me out with this. They're talking about these lanterns and having them fly. What happens if we have a burn ban at the time? What would happen in that case? Would they still be able to do that? Would there be... I'm just trying to figure out what would occur. I'm not too familiar with these lanterns, so obviously that's going to be one of my concerns.
These lanterns, what they do, you have a candle, builds up the heat to make them fly.
Okay.
If we have a burn ban, it'd be the same thing as with fireworks, anything else. No, we would not allow it. I have a real problem with this because one thing with the area that they're talking about doing it, it's over to the south. They have Bonnie Plant Farm. To the west is Bonnie Plant Farm with all of those plastic covered areas that they've got. And then you've got a couple of tank batteries in the area. Plus, to the south also is all that oil property. If these things fly up and they come down and set a fire out there, we've got a real issue with it. And we have turned these down before when people are wanting to set these lanterns off and just letting them go, because you have no control once they go up.
Right.
And also Matt Norton with Fiddlesticks Farms, I've talked to him, and they've not been out to talk to Matt about this. They've just talked to him, I think, on the phone, and Matt's really, he's got a lot of questions also about the safety of it. So that's my issue with it.
Is it okay if I respond to some of those concerns?
Absolutely.
So we have, first of all, part of my adventure out here to Midland. This is my first time out here. I love it. It's a great town.
Welcome.
Thank you. I will be heading out to Field Six Farms after this meeting to kind of meet with him and just go over some of those concerns. As far as the lantern is concerned, just like Dale said, there is a fuel source at the bottom, but we have engineered it to only burn from about 60 to 90 seconds. So from the time that it's actually all on fire to the time where it starts coming down. So like you said, it catches fire and heats up the lantern, which allows it to propel upward. There's 60 to 90 seconds from when it leaves your hands to when it starts coming down again. And so we feel in our testing of those lanterns, I actually have some lanterns here for anyone that's concerned to be able to take a look at them and things like that. From our testing, we've seen that under typical conditions, they go about a quarter of a mile. And under more advanced speeds of wind, they can go about half a mile. And obviously, I mean, it is a variable, just like Dale said, that if once we do let them go in the air, if the wind changes or things like that, then we really can't control where they go. But we do take great precaution to work with the local fire. We also have a third-party fire prevention company we work with called Timberland Fire that does a fire assessment before the event and works with the local fire department. But at the time of the festival, if the wind speeds are too high, that where we predict that they feel like they go outside of our safety zone, we won't fly lanterns. We do have a refund policy, and especially if it's due to weather at the time of the event, we have a policy that will come back within 3 months to kind of give those people an opportunity to come again. We pre-treat the area, so we do a test lantern before we let our participants light off their lanterns to determine where the lantern will go. And there, once it lands, we have the local fire wet down the area over a wide swath of the land to help prevent any kind of, if there is any kind of low vegetation or things like that, that could possibly catch on fire. But from what we've seen, our lanterns come down without an ember and definitely without an open flame. And so it does greatly reduce the impact or potential for fire, things like that. But I do completely understand the risk and the concern it does raise.
Do y'all carry insurance as well?
We do. We bring a $2 million policy to each of our events.
Okay. And where are you based out of?
We're based out of Pleasant Grove, Utah. So I flew out of yesterday.
All right.
We're not able to get it.
Okay. So you're doing these all over the country, I guess?
Yes, we held an event in February up in Lubbock.
Okay.
And we held 3 in Houston, in Baytown in November, and 2 in Dallas in November as well, I believe, last year.
Okay, is the lantern a coated material?
It is a rice paper. It's made out of rice paper with a bamboo rim, and it has kind of a yarn string that holds the fuel source. So technically it is all biodegradable, but it is coated with flame retardant. And so to prevent the whole lantern going up in flames if something did happen.
Okay. And who gets, I'm assuming you charge for this?
Yes, we do, yeah.
And so where does the money go?
We are a for-profit company, but we do donate to local charities.
And how do you define those local charities? You select them, or Fiddlesticks chooses them?
Well, if the city has something in mind, we reach out to those people. If we haven't heard from
Okay, we don't care about the city.
Or the county, sorry. If the local government has a charity in mind, we reach out to them, or if the venue has a charity in mind. But if no one has let us know what kind of charity they want us to donate to, we have someone in our office that just reaches out to find some local charity in the area.
Okay. And that came out a little different than I meant it.
Oh, no worries.
In this venue, we don't care about the city. We act only on the county. We do care about our colleagues over at the city.
Perfect.
I've got 2 more questions for you. You said 60 to 90 seconds. Is that like the amount of fuel that's in this candle or this flame? Or?
I could bring one up. It's a physical kind of paper that's been coated with.
Could you bring it up? I'd like to see what it looks like. I'm looking at your website. I'm not really finding much. I did find the amount that they charge for. In Houston, you're charging about, tickets are like $25, $30, right, for
They
adults?
start at $25 for the first few participants to encourage people to sign up early. And then after, I don't know the actual numbers, but after more and more people sign up, it gets more and more expensive, just to encourage people to sign up
Okay,
early.
Derek, just a heads up, we're still working on it, but we can't get the compatibility in the,
That's fine. Honestly, the video is just really cool.
well, we'll see it eventually sometime. It just may not be right this moment.
So this is the lantern. It looks like. Down here on the bottom is the fuel source. So it's completely dry. So you can see kind of, I don't know if you guys want to take a look at it.
So it's like almost a sterno type solid fuel. Okay,
So it lights. Anybody else want to take a look?
I've seen one, thank you.
It's interesting. This fuel source lights up and then fills up this paper, and it goes up into the air.
Okay.
We did this in junior high as a science experiment.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about not using that type of a fuel source and doing it over a chimney and filling it with that?
We have, it just doesn't go, we're doing our best to minimize how long this burns. We also found that there is a minimum kind of, a minimum burn time to still have the same appeal, same visual appeal for our event. So we found if we do work without a fuel source and just fill it up with a chimney, it doesn't go as far or doesn't have the same look that we're looking for, I guess. Because it also, with the fuel source here, it actually lights this up. So you can actually, it illuminates this lantern, so you can see it as it goes up. And so that's
So you're doing this during the evening?
So yes, it would be during the evening.
Okay.
Because we had no problem. We went all the way across town on a lot of ours, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how.
Okay. Any other questions from the court? Mr. Little, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay?
The only other thing, if
Now, you can't talk from over there, please.
Come on over.
the only other thing, they'd have to have a mass gathering permit.
Right. Okay.
So is that permit what we would need to?
That's through the
approval?
court.
Okay.
Yes. But let's do this. This is a receive presentation only agenda item.
Okay.
So if you would go visit with Fiddlesticks, and we would certainly welcome both of you back.
Okay.
We may have more questions, but if you just contact Jenny, we'll get it scheduled.
Okay.
But at some point, we'll have to either say go ahead or say no because of local reasons. But,
Yeah, we'd love that.
and we'll try to get your video watched in between here and there.
Great.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you for coming.
No problem. Thank
Thanks,
you. for
Derek.
having
Appreciate
me.
your explanation. Okay? The next item, before we get into 10 and 11, which go together, we have a number of people that want to speak. Everybody will be heard, but some information you all need before we get started. There are some folks that have some presentations. The rules in the court are 3 minutes presentations. The court may have questions. It's contained in those 3 minutes generally. There may be some other material they want to see afterwards, so you might get invited back up. We'll kind of work within those boundaries. And then after you get through, I'll be happy to share with you and my colleagues on what I found out from the U.S. Congress and Mr. Conaway, Representative Conaway, and one other representative involved in this. More importantly, the court has indicated that, yes, we want to do a resolution of some fashion. It may not be the one we have today for 2 statement reasons. This was done out of Bexar County, and they do something different that this court takes great pride in not doing, and that is we don't give facts and figures in a scenario if we don't have any basis that we have determined for facts and figures. And one other word they use is consent in theirs. we don't have any consent authority on roadways, railways, runways. We're not in the consent business, we just build them. So just need you to understand, these are small items in terms of what you're after, and we would intend to craft a resolution around those, recognizing our history of what we say, and that we stay within the authority that we can say it, that it has standing. And what I mean by standing in this case is, I've watched resolutions, particularly at the state capitol, and they read them, and as soon as they get to those areas that are not germane to their authority, they get cut off. They don't even get to finish. So that has led this court, and I must take great pride in my colleagues, sticking to finding out what the information says and crafting it in a way that we've never been cut off. We've always got our say. And whether they agree or not is not the point, okay? So those are a few of the ground rules before we get going. And we have guests from both sides of this issue. And then I believe we've had some conversation with the folks in Andrews County. I haven't personally yet. We've traded phone calls, but we'll get there. So with that, let's call up item 10, receive presentation on nuclear waste. And this is a follow-up to last court's meeting when Mr. Rosen and his associates brought this to the attention of the Commissioners Court. These are in no particular order, but they are in the way that they arrived up here at the podium. So this is general testimony, public testimony, and it does say against, and it's Bridget Houston Hyde. And even though I say your name, when you get to the podium, we'd ask you to start with your name and your address, including out-of-town members. And I'll give you a warning, Ms. Hyde, at 1 minute before your time's up. Okay?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bridget Houston Hyde. I live at 2201 Humble Avenue in Midland, Texas. I've testified before the court. I gave you an introduction to myself. I'll give it again just for good measure. I have a degree in geology from the University of Oklahoma and worked as a geologist for 5 years for city service, then later Occidental. And I left, I made a decision to stay home with my kids and pursued other interests. And I have another degree. It's in pastoral studies from the University of Loyola in New Orleans. And I'm also certified as a spiritual director. I have an office in the Wood Hill building, and I see clients there for spiritual direction. I just want to go through some general points. I think you've been given some new handouts, and I hope you take a look at them. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about comes from those. And I'm just going to address this question of why we do not want...
Is this the handout you're speaking of?
Yes, that's one of them, and then there are two others, I think.
I think they're all in here in the same packet.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just want to address the question why we do not want high-level nuclear waste coming through Midland County.
Okay.
Here's a first reason. The dry storage casks that they use to store this high-level nuclear waste are not strong enough. There are quality assurance problems in their construction, and there was a whistleblower, Oscar Shirani, who was fired by the Edison Exelon Company of Chicago for pointing out structural flaws in the dry storage casks. 6-inch long cracks have been discovered in dry casks at the Surrey Nuclear Plant in Virginia. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission's high-level waste storage and handling regulations are inadequate to protect the public. They are in dire need of review. The U.S. government has admitted that nuclear reactors are high on al-Qaeda's list. Transporting high-level nuclear waste provides thousands of opportunities for sabotage. Accidents happen. Midland County is painfully aware of train accidents. The burn test that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission designed exposed a dry storage cache to a fire of 1,475 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. Diesel
1 minute.
Diesel burns at 1,800 degrees and for longer than 30 minutes. Even a small radiation release from an accident could contaminate a 42 square mile area. And the cost of cleanup for the most affected square mile from a high-level nuclear waste accident is $9.5 billion. So, I mean, who pays for this? WCS is, I am told, struggling financially. And honestly, there are just so many costs associated with the transport of high-level nuclear waste. But for me, the ultimate cost is the cost of a human life. And this is a cost that I, as a resident of Midland County, am not prepared to pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, it's general testimony against Ms. Carmen Bryant.
I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry.
You're a resource
I am
witness.
against, you're right.
Before you get started,
Yes. I haven't had my coffee, is that your question?
okay,
No.
you can be for, against, or neutral. You can be here for general public testimony or a resource witness.
I am against.
You are against, and it's general public testimony, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I'm here representing myself as well as the League of Women Voters.
Okay, and that was the other thing. For the record, it does say Ms. Bryant is representing herself and the League of Women Voters. Same rules, 3 minutes when you get started, and I'll give you a minute warning before you're done.
Okay, great.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners, for having me this morning. My name is Carmen Bryant, and I live at 1404 Community Lane, Midland, Texas. And I am also the president of the League of Women Voters of Midland, and we are a nonpartisan citizen organization who has fought since 1919 to improve our government and encourage all citizens in the decisions that impact their lives. Regarding the nuclear waste transport, we appreciate the opportunity to provide comments opposing plans to transport high-level nuclear waste in Texas. The League urges you, as the county commissioners and judge, to deny the transport of high-level radioactive waste transported in the state of Texas. The League's position on nuclear waste promotes the maximum protection of public health and safety and the environment. Our position, like other leagues, is derived throughout a lengthy and thoughtful process involving the participation of leagues across the United States, including 24 Texas leagues and representing nearly 5,000 supporters throughout the state. High-level radioactive waste is the most dangerous of all radioactive material for tens of thousands of years. No other state wants it, so why should Texas? High-level radioactive waste is a risk too high to transport through the state, potentially endangering men, women, and children along miles of interstate highways. This clearly is unprecedented and poses a huge threat to our future generations. High-level radioactive waste has a long half-life. Plutonium, the most dangerous material in the world, remains dangerous for tens of thousands of years. Just because the nuclear industry has no solution for the waste problem, there is no reason that Texas should have it as a storage site. The League recognizes nuclear materials have been transported relatively safe, but there have been train and truck accidents and even trucks with radioactive material stolen or missing. This is an
1 minute.
This is an accident waiting to happen. The League also realizes that the packaging and storing of waste material and transport are designed to ensure shielding from radiation and containment of waste, even under the most extreme accident conditions. But we live in a different time and unforeseen hazards. where'd I go? Okay. The League of Women Voters of Midland does not support high-level radioactive waste transport in the state of Texas, and we appreciate you letting us speak to you today. Are there any questions for me?
Brian, thank you.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay. The next person, we have general testimony. It says against, and it says student and instructor, and that's Carrie is it Manzo? Manzo. Carrie, same rules, 3 minutes. Give you a minute warning before your time's up, okay?
Great.
If you'll start with your name and address.
My name is Carrie Manzo, and I live at 1000 Lanham Street in Midland, Texas. I am a graduate student. I'm also a part-time instructor at Texas Tech University. But most of my time I'm here in Midland, and I work and study from home. My home is less than a mile from the railroad tracks. My community is mostly retired folks and me. And for what's common among all of us is that our wealth, our value, our investment is in our homes and our property. My concern is not only, we've heard accidents happen. Yes, they do. My concern is not only the impact to the health of those of us who are in this very close to the railroad tracks in the case of an accident, but also the value of our properties. If there is an accident, if there is some form of contamination, that investment that we have in that land is potentially lost or impacted or put on hold while court cases resume or whatnot, right? This has the potential to impact us for a very long time. Accidents happen. The casks, we know they can't be declared 100% safe. So I would ask that the court, or that you all today support a resolution against the transport of this high-level nuclear waste through our communities.
Okay. Thank you very much. You got time back. Okay. The next is written testimony only, and it says retired educator against, and that's Patricia Stevens. And Ms. Stevens, are you here? Okay. Make sure I have her testimony. I have do you know Ms. Stevens? Anybody know her? Okay, Ms. Hyde, I've got this. It's got nobody's name or anything. I guess that is her testimony. Do you happen to know? Okay. For purposes of elimination, we'll attribute that to her right now, okay?
Was she for or against, Judge?
She is against.
Thank you.
And it says, I'm especially concerned about transporting nuclear waste through Midland, which is a common theme since the conversation exists around rail transportation. The next speaker is general public testimony, transportation of spent fuel, and it is for, and that's Mr. Tom Jones. Not to be confused with the singer.
No, sir.
Okay, Tom.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm Tom Jones. I'm a vice president with Waste Control Specialist in Andrews.
Okay.
We have applied for an NRC license to store spent fuel rods on our site, which is about 30 miles west of Andrews. I guess one of the things that is real important in this discussion is we're really not proposing anything new. There's 62 nuclear reactors around the country that are licensed to store this material, and they're doing it exactly the way that we would do it on our side. What we're just proposing is consolidating that material from a number of places into one site. We have addressed transportation in our environmental study, but we have not applied, transportation is not part of our application. And that's because it's already regulated by DOT and NRC. There's thousands of shipments of radioactive material per year go on in this country. Safely, there hasn't been a problem. There's been thousands of shipments of spent nuclear fuel. Again, safely, there has not been a release. There's not been a problem. These shipping containers have been designed where they're almost indestructible. They drop them from 30 feet. They drop them on a steel spike from 30 feet. They set fire to them, or they set fire to fuel around them. They immerse them in water. There's been, I think, an accident back in 1971 where one of them was on a truck.
1 minute.
It came off the truck, slid 30 feet, did not come open. There was no release. They picked it up, took it back, inspected it, repainted it, put it back on the road. So we feel like it is safe, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. The next person speaking is general public testimony. And you have checked for and against, but if I read the rest of the notes, I think it says for a resolution, but against the transporting, and that does Science Consulting, and it's Stephen Shavers. Do I? Stephen, if you don't mind, I'm going to call you Stephen.
That's fine.
And do I have that correct? You're for resolution and your testimony is against. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Judge Bradford and Commissioners. Yes, I'm for the resolution and opposed to the transport.
Okay.
My background is sedimentary rocks. I'm an expert in sedimentary rocks. In addition to the immediate problems and dangers of transporting high-level nuclear waste, Commissioners should also consider that waste control specialists have significant problems concerning the safety of properly storing this waste. You don't want to be transporting high-level nuclear waste to a site that is not a good place to store it. Also, even though their proposal is to temporarily store this high-level nuclear waste, after 40 or 60 years, nobody is going to want to move it. And the only thing more dangerous than transporting nuclear waste is transporting it twice. If you think they'll move it again, I don't think so. The idea is kind of absurd. Now, the site is dangerous. These points were pointed out years ago when the low-level nuclear waste was stored. Contrary to WCS claims, studies show that 2 aquifers occur around and under the nuclear waste site. These aquifers are adjacent and are probably connected to the adjacent one. The danger was that water in these aquifers would encounter the canisters and cause them to corrode fast, and then they would leak, and the nuclear waste would get into the aquifers. This is a significant danger. It has occurred with other toxic chemicals repeatedly. I've been to 5 Superfund sites in Houston. I studied geology in Houston at Rice, and I was a professor at the University of Houston. There are Superfund sites there where steel barrels, not these canisters, corroded and caused tremendous damage. One of these aquifers at the site is the Pecos Valley Aquifer. Now, you may know this aquifer because it's the same aquifer that now supplies a portion of Midland's fresh water. The freshwater fields, water well fields in Winkler and Loving counties are in the Pecos County aquifer. This is the aquifer that lies around that site. Now, the aquifer also was above the site, but WCS did quarry through the aquifers, and the canisters now rest in the Dockum, which is a Triassic formation, much older. But even the Dockum is an aquifer. The layer that holds the canisters is a mud rock layer that is still porous and can be permeable if there are fractures. The water does move through it. The aquifer in the Dockum is brine, so waste control specialist has been ignoring it. The thickness of the strata, the canisters, and the landfill containment features are inadequate to stop leakage that will occur after, say, 60 to 100 years. The lifetime of the radioisotopes in this nuclear waste is thousands of years. So there will be significant problems in the future. We're not talking about you or your children. We're talking about grandchildren and great-grandchildren who might be affected by leakage from this site.
Your time's up, sir.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Let me, for the record, Stephen gave us a handout with some material on it. We'll attach that to your testimony.
Thank you.
And if you care to submit anything you didn't get to say in here, we'll be happy to put it on here.
I only had one paragraph left. That was number 4.
Okay? We may get back to you, but
Okay.
we'll abide by this right now.
If anyone has any questions, I can talk about number 4 if you want.
Okay?
Thank you.
Let me I'd like to make a statement as a
Sure.
commissioner. It could be, I think right now, probably we're wanting just to hear from everybody. And
Got it.
my guess is we're going to want to ask questions of maybe several people, perhaps, after
Okay,
everybody's been
thank you.
heard from.
Thank you,
bet.
Commissioners.
Thank you. The next one is general public testimony. It is 4, and it says Tom Smitty, and I can't read the last name. Is it Smith?
Yep. Sure.
All right, and Tom, you indicate public citizens member in Texas. Is that who you're testifying for or
Yes,
for
sir.
yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for the record, Mr. Smith is testifying for public citizens of Texas.
And let me do the Stephen Sanderman explanation.
Okay.
I'm against radioactive waste transportation. I'm in favor of the resolution.
Gotcha. Start with your name and
I'll start with
address.
that. So I worked for a group called Public Citizen and have for 31 years.
Okay.
Before that, I was also working on radioactive waste and worried about this question of what do we do with it? How do we get it to
Okay, I
places
need your
safe?
name and address.
Sure. My name is Tom Smith. I'm better known as Smitty. I'm at 309 East 11th in Austin, Texas.
Okay, thank you.
And so I've been working on trying to figure this out since 1983. And it's a horrible problem. It's a huge mess we've gotten ourselves in. And it's going to take some real leadership to figure out how to handle this stuff safely. And that's why back in the early 1980s, the U.S. government said, let's figure out where to put this stuff deep underground in a repository where we can put it for 1 million years and it'll be isolated from humans. But we've never gotten there. That's the Yucca Mountain problem we have, is where to put this stuff. And Yucca Mountain may or may not be a good site. So folks like WCS have said, well, we'll store it for you out here in West Texas, and then it'll have to be shipped out here some way. Now, this is the really hot stuff. This is the stuff that's from within the reactor core itself. It's so radioactive that if you're exposed to a single fuel rod for 90 seconds, it'll kill you. Now, the federal government has said for 60 years, don't worry, we'll figure this problem out, and they have failed repeatedly. And the low-level radioactive waste storage sites, with the exception of perhaps 2, have all leaked. Many of those sites have been, Congress has promised, don't worry, we'll clean them up, and have either not appropriated adequate money most often, or have been late on their promises, or only put a portion of what needs to be done in there. Now, in order to get this waste out to WCS for storage, there are going to be 10,000 shipments that are required. And each of the cars in those shipments has enough radioactivity or plutonium as was contained in the bomb that was dropped over Nagasaki. Now, when you look at where this waste is, most of it, 98% of those reactors, are to the east and the north of here, and they're going to be coming down highways that parallel 10, 20, 30, 40, and 27. Down the big Union Pacific lines, largely like the ones that run very close to where you are right here. Now, accidents do happen, and the way that they're more likely to happen are degraded rail lines, where the rail lines themselves aren't strong enough to handle it, and we need a plan, if it's going to be shipped that way, to upgrade those lines. But the one that's most concerning is from terrorists. And in the state's report on this issue, they said this is a particularly vulnerable place for a terrorist attack. And when you look at the ways that we've studied, it has traditionally been, some folks just attacking it and trying to hold it. But these studies were done before drones. And one of the things we've learned in the invasion of Mosul is that terrorists are coming up with remarkably cheap ways on drones to do both mortar and grenade launches and other kinds of things, and we're having to come up with all kinds of new technologies to protect. But those were things that were never considered when these studies were done that could affect you. Now, there are lots of questions about the casks and safety, and we've got some materials in that red packet that you were given earlier. But we think that this is a cart before the horse situation. The permit's moving quickly for WCS in Andrews County, but we don't have the transportation studies and won't until 2022. We don't have the cask safety studies and won't for quite a while yet. And that's why Bexar County unanimously passed this resolution, saying, slow this process down, let's study it. And the gentleman from WCS is right. Where the opportunity is to comment and to submit comments is in the environmental scoping statement. And that's the opportunity and why we're asking you all to consider saying, we're not sure we don't consent to having it going through here. We want this more fully studied. And that's the place where that comment needs to be. Okay. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll be happy to answer questions in a later session.
Smitty, thank you. And let me ask you something. You referenced this red document,
Yes.
same one that Ms. Hyde
had, yeah.
Is this your findings in here?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll note these together.
All combined together, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. Next party wishing to speak, and it's general public testimony. It is against, and again, it's marked for resolution, so I guess I can mark for the resolution, but against the subject matter. Is that right, David?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. David Rosen.
Thank you. That way I don't have to come and speak twice. Although this is the second time. My name is David Rosen. I live at 5002 Thames Court here in Midland, Texas. Thank you. I want to reiterate that we're looking at somewhere on the order of 10,000 shipments would come through Texas or to this site in Andrews County. Whether 10,000 come through Midland or they get split up, there's some come through Lubbock, some come from El Paso. It's a huge number, how many ever would come through Midland. And I think that given the rate of accidents that the federal government guesses would happen, we still might be looking at an accident here in Midland. So I think I'd really appreciate it if the Commissioners Court would explore being an intervener in the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's hearings, which can be done until April 28th, I believe, is when you can request to be an intervener. We know that there's been a bad accident about 2.5, 3 years ago at the WIP site, wherein it was underground. These will not be underground, but that was underground, and one of the barrels had been improperly packed and exploded, exposing 22 workers to radiation, and it took somewhere between $500 million and $2 billion to clean it up, and the WIP site is about to start receiving nuclear waste again in April. The plutonium and americium that came out of the site was detected up to 26 miles away. And so I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you, Court.
Thank you. David, you also have a number of interests down here. It says, indicate you're speaking for them, and tell me if this is correct or not. The SEED Coalition, which is Sustainable Energy and Economic Development.
No, I'm here with the SEED Coalition.
Okay,
is represented by Ms. Haddon.
Okay, so you're here, but you're not speaking for them.
That's correct.
Public Citizen, Tom Smith, who we just heard from.
Exactly.
Same thing. And then Public Citizen, same thing. Is that correct?
Yes, I've dragged them in here.
Okay.
Because they have a lot more expertise than I do.
You invited them to come?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Let me make a couple of notes and we will get back. Okay. Next person that has requested to speak, and I need 2 bits of information before you start. Is this general testimony, resource witness, or written testimony only, and it is for Carrie, is it Bino? Bruno?
Yeah, I'm not speaking on behalf of the waste. I was here requesting a memorandum of understanding to be signed. And so the gentleman back here in the back told me that I needed to fill out one of those forms. So
Okay,
I probably,
so we're going to let you speak on it even though you don't want to.
okay, I'm number 18.
Got it.
All right, so-
And on that, save us time later. So this is number 18. It's
Yes.
general testimony, resource witness, or what?
Resource as an organization.
Okay, and on your witness form, you give an address but no city.
Yes, I live in Odessa, Texas at
That's fine.
7307 Bellini Street.
Okay.
But my office is in Odessa as well at 120.
That's fine. We'll get to you in a minute. Thank you for the clarification.
Sit back down, please. Do you need me to sit back down?
No, go ahead and sit down. We'll get to you in a moment. And that's what happens when we don't know what these are. So bear with us. General public testimony. This is for the resolution. And is it Karen Hayden? H-A-E? Do I have that right? H-A-E-L-D-O-N?
Haddon, H-A-D-D-E-N.
H-A-D-D. Got it.
I probably wrote badly. I
No, that's all right. And Ms. Eden is from Sustainable Energy and Economic Development, known as the SEED Coalition, in Austin, Texas, correct?
Yes.
All right.
With your permission, I would show a photo from a slide that's already set up.
Okay, but once you, on the record, your name and your address,
Okay.
and we've already established who you're speaking for. If you want to show the photo, that's fine. That takes,
Okay.
that's in your 3 minutes.
Okay, great. So, yes.
It's not working.
Then we won't do it.
All right.
That's no problem.
Explanation on the IT.
Thank you
Will
for
not
trying.
merge together, so we give you back about 5 seconds.
Thank
Okay?
you. Thank you so much.
All right,
I'm
now.
Karen Haddon. I'm the director of Seed Coalition, which is a statewide organization. We work, all throughout Texas. And we are in support of the resolution, and thank you for considering it. We're very concerned about the prospect of high-level radioactive waste coming through our state from around the country. You heard from Mr. Tom Jones from WCS, and he was saying that it's not a lot different what they want to do compared to what's being done. To me, the differences are that this would be vast quantities. WCS wants to start with 5,000 metric tons of this waste and go up to 40,000 all in one place. That's very different than each reactor keeping their waste on site in a secure manner. It also introduces large-scale transport, the likes of which has never been done in this country. I personally favor a permanent repository for this waste. It's a real problem. Our country has to deal with it. But I don't think that we should ship the waste until we're ready to put it into a permanent repository. The risks of transport are significant. One of the things that's in your red folder is a single sheet that's the cover of a report. It's an NRC final report from January 2014. They point out that most of the testing done has not been done with full-scale casks. It's been done with modeling, computer modeling, and small-scale models. I think we need to ask the question about, does that match reality of what would really happen if we really had an accident? One of the tests is done for a 60-mile-per-hour train crash into a barrier. One of the photos I was hoping to show is a photo you might have seen from June 2016. There was a Panhandle head-on collision of two trains, 65 miles per hour, opposing forces here, huge momentum. That fire burned for a long time, and it took 2 weeks to clear the tracks. This is a real-life experience that has already happened, and I question whether the testing has been done to that level in any way, shape, or form at this point in time for these casks. The casks don't have to be totally mangled to have problems. If they even get jostled to where the fuel gets broken or moved around, that can be a problem. If the valve gets turned or twisted, that can cause a release. Furthermore, this same study this is the NRC's study, not me, points out that while this waste is being transported in a transport cask, there is some radiation that comes off of it. And they point out that it's very small, that it's a fraction of background level radiation that we all get exposed to. To me, that raises the question, however, of it is in fact additional radiation that we didn't ask for, and it is also a problem if you should, for some reason, be stuck next to an accident and you have to sit next to this stuff for a while. You might not even know it was there. Their studies are done using what they call the reference man, which is a healthy adult male. But they're not taking into account the fact that children are more susceptible to radiation exposure, girls more so than boys. And so I think there are risks here, and I don't think we take them lightly. I'm not saying we never do transport, but I certainly do not support transport to just store all this stuff in one place, a separate place. So those are the main concerns that we have. The NRC, is telling us that this is all safe, and they call the risk acceptable, but I ask acceptable to whom? Acceptable to the people who would get exposed? There is that question. And so I also ask that you look over the sheet that we have provided about the numerous sites around the United States that have been having leaks. They were all proclaimed to be safe, and now there are multi-billion-dollar cleanups at some of those sites. Thank you so much.
For the reference, note that Ms. Hayden's testimony referenced the red folder, so we have 3 people referencing the red folder.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and this is the last that I have, and if there's anybody else wishing to speak and we just don't happen to have your testimony form, you'll see Mr. Little in the back and we'll still get you in. But this is general public testimony. This is against, and it says Mr. Matt McClure. And Matt, you didn't put where you live, but I think you live in Midland County, don't you? Yeah. Okay.
Good evening, Judge, Commissioners. Good morning.
Hello. Start with your name and address.
Matt McClure, 6500 East County Road 66.
Okay.
My biggest issue with transporting nuclear waste through our interstate is us first responders. Not only myself, sheriff, his guys. That's putting us at a very big liability because we've got to train on this. We don't have the money to be training our first responders to how to handle an incident with the nuclear waste. I know the sheriff probably don't have it in his budget to do training also. Not only that, if once we do respond to an incident, we have years and years and years of monitoring our first responders, their health issues. Who's going to pay for that? We don't have it in our budget. Y'all don't have it in your budget. So, who's going to be responsible for that? Just to train my first responders on a nuclear waste incident, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of training. Not only the city has to train on it, everybody in Midland County will have to train on it as first responders. Sheriff, police department, fire departments, state highway department would have to train on it. Who's going to be paying for that? That's my biggest issue. We'll do whatever the Commissioner's Court says we're going to do, but also we need to be funded to be doing that. We struggle to make ends meet now with the fire department to keep the wheels turning. This is additional cost that we don't need. We do train on some nuclear waste incidents, but not to this level. Driving up down the highways, you see a lot of scary stuff running up down the highways, not nuclear waste. Yes, sir, Judge.
No, you have 1 minute left. Go ahead.
And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Those of you that had pictures or anything that we couldn't match up with our IT, Justin, if you'll raise your hand, please. If you'll see Justin, and perhaps we can get a copy made through his own direct sources, and then we can view them at our more appropriate time for each commissioner, and they can address those questions to whoever submitted that directly, okay? And looks like we got one more testimony. Is that correct, Dale?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's Linda.
Good morning. How you doing?
Okay. All right, we have one more, and this is general public testimony. It is against, and it's Linda Hagler. And Linda, same thing. I know you live in Midland, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you'll serve your name and address, and
Linda Hagler, 3711 Neely,
okay.
Midland. And I don't have any actual documentation with me. I'm a very concerned individual, and I have been in Midland, lived here off and on since 1970, most recently since 1991, and have served on boards of several organizations here, and I'm currently on the state board of the Texas Federation of Republican Women. And about 2 weeks ago, I heard Professor Adicott, Dr. Jeffrey Adicott. He is a professor for the Terrorism Law Center at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, and I've heard him speak 3 times regarding the current terror issues and threats. And if you had the opportunity to ever hear him speak, you would be against this just because there are so many opportunities as far as the rail system, them going into Andrews, and we know that the terrorists are already here. We just don't know where they all are. And I'm just highly concerned, especially after hearing Dr. Adicott about 2 weeks ago, and I'm against it being transported here, temporarily stored, and I just came to say that. So I
Okay.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, anybody else? All right. Hearing none, then we are through with the folks wishing to give us testimony. And the procedure from here would be any member of the court, if you have a particular party you want to address questions to, please call them up and we can go from there. And Randy, do you have any?
I may, but not right now, no.
Louise, do you have any?
I may. I'm just wanting to hear what the board is saying, but I do have a few comments here in a second.
Okay, based on the testimony, let's go back again before we started this and tell you, yes, there's going to be a resolution out of the court. The resolution, again, will be crafted to where it is received appropriately and entered into the record and not cut off and thrown out because it doesn't contain the right, hurts me to say this, the linguistic language. But nonetheless, that's what we have. I do have a question, and it may be for Smitty or Ms. Haddon, because you're from Austin. Austin has a nuclear facility in far south Texas that supplies their electricity. As I understand it, that's one of the newer plants. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there any issue you're aware of with that facility, first? Secondly, are the spent rods from that facility going to be included in this transport?
Thank you, Judge.
Excuse me, proposed transport. We don't know.
The South Texas project does have waste on site. They are currently shipping some of their low-level waste to Andrews County. They would send their high-level waste out to West Texas, but they don't have any urgent pressing need one of the people that I've spoken to about this is one of the executives with CPS Energy in San Antonio, and he said, look, we're not in any hurry to move this stuff. And in fact, they were leaning towards waiting for the high-level waste site based on that comment.
And there's been no incident with that plant that I'm aware of, is that correct?
No. And what Karen failed to mention is she's also chairman of the Electric Utility Commission, the Citizen Oversight Board for the City of Austin. And one of the other points that wanted to make here, there has been some questions raised about, well, if you don't send it out to Andrews County for storage, what do you do with it? And this is a good example. Most of the reactors in the United States have chosen what they call the safe store option to reduce the cost of decommissioning by about half. And what that basically means is they're going to let the reactor cool down for about 50 years after it ceases production. And there will be many guards at that site because it's still hot. And what the wastes, what we prefer is to allow the waste to stay on site at the now cooling off reactors for that period of time, where they've got guards, where they've got people who know how to monitor the radioactivity coming off of these storage canisters and know what to do if there is a leak, and have facilities on staff, and they have guards that are actually trained on radioactive stuff. And so while there clearly are some reactors that are in inappropriate locations, like on a riverbank or on an earthquake fault line or near the ocean, it is our preference, and what we have as folks in the environmental and energy communities think that the preferred thing to do is to move this stuff as little distance as possible to the next safest nuclear reactor where they're going to have appropriate guards until such time as we find the repository that is going to be able to store this stuff in perpetuity.
Okay. So based on what you just said, is this a correct statement? The older reactor, I guess the oldest one in the state, is at Granbury on the lake. So would that be an example of what you just said, where Granbury would move theirs to the newer site?
So flip it around the other way. South Texas actually started operation before Comanche Peak because it had a troubled construction history. Granbury is one where it's on relatively stable rock, probably wouldn't need to move. There are some other problems with high levels of tritium and things in the reservoir, and there may need to be something done about that. But as another example, San Onofre out in California sits on an earthquake fault line right above the Pacific Ocean. My instincts are that's not a good place. We need to move it someplace else.
Thank you. The excuse me.
Oh, I would add one more brief comment, if I may. The current reactor sites, all of them throughout the country, are licensed for storage for 60 years past when the reactor stops operating.
What's the difference between the high-level and low-level waste created by the nuclear plants?
The high-level waste is mainly the spent fuel rods, and low-level waste is everything else. And the difference being...
Example?
Like there's... what's the right term for them? There are some other materials that there's resins and sludges. There's physical hardware that's not the actual control rods. Those are the low level. And they can be the same radioactive materials. They can still contain uranium, plutonium, et cetera, but it's a matter of the volume, the quantity, and how radioactively hot they are. And you sometimes hear that the fuel rods aren't real hot because when they put them in the reactors, they're at one level. But when they come out, they're 1,000,000 times more radioactive. So that's where the very intense danger comes in with the high-level waste.
So you say that from this other plant, I guess the South Texas one, they've already been shipping the low-level to Andrews. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. In fact, reactors...
Has there been any instances with those low-level shipments?
I do not know of any accidents along the way. You heard earlier about one one shipment that got lost for a month, and it was found on a ranch north of Dallas. I don't know how or why, but I have not heard of any accidents involving the low-level shipment. One of the things about this high-level waste is it's bigger, it's heavier. The train tracks are actually, if this happens, are going to have to be beefed up through a lot of the country. They can be like 150 tons, so this stuff is incredibly heavy, large.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got any questions? Louise, you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I want to thank everybody who's come in today to talk. I just want to. I had a lot of phone calls, and I'm going to name some of the names because I think that it's they took the time to call me. I know that some of them were not able to be here, and I'm going to name some of y'all who are already here. In regards to opposing this nuclear waste, I did not receive a single call in favor of this nuclear waste site. I had Bridget Hyde, Nancy Patterson, Jen Artley. Let's see here. Shelley Wright, Janet Whitman. I'm sorry, and it goes on and on. I mean, I can sit here all day naming everybody else that called me. I think it's fair for me to name their names because they did call. They said that they were in favor of a resolution. They are against what's happening next door here in Andrews. Unfortunately, I understand that we don't really have much of a say-so, but what we do have is our voice. You know, there's a lot of things that I am concerned about. In my precinct, I currently have a Superfund site. The Superfund site that I currently have in my precinct, they're talking about possibly over 100 years before it can be cleaned up. The chromium in that area is just, it's not good. We have 3 Superfund sites in Midland. There's one at the City View Road, which is in Commissioner Donnelly's precinct, the Medessa Groundwater Plume, which is in Precinct 1, and of course the West County Road 112, which is in my precinct. So we have 3 Superfund sites. And it's very concerning. Some of these areas are having to get water now from the city. Some of them, we've been installing filters. The reason why I say that is because something as small as what we've been dealing with right now, it's costing us a lot of money, a lot of headache. It's making a lot of people have to move away. There's some articles that have come out that I've been reading, and 60 Minutes had a report on the Yucca Mountain plant. You know, this started about 50 years ago. They were talking about putting all this nuclear waste in the mountain out there, and I know that it's been very controversial. Of course, they don't want it. Some of the things that I'm very concerned about are accidents. I don't care how safe a person tries to be, there will always be an accident. Human error, human accidents, it just happens. There's a disaster that happened in the Baltimore tunnel fire in July of 2001. And what happened here is a freight train was carrying hazardous material. It derailed and it burned for 4 days. The temperatures reached over 1,000 degrees. It took them a long time to get that fire down. We heard from some of our first responders talking about protection. Yes, I am concerned about that. And yes, I am concerned that we don't have the resources in Midland to do that. My question would be, is this a new type of unfunded mandate if there's an accident? Because we're gonna have to start training our guys if we don't, if we start having this nuclear stuff come in through our town. Of course, I live very close to a railroad track. I'm very concerned with that. The railroad track does come through my precinct, a very large part of my precinct. There's the, you know, the Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository. It was developed for that. It was developed for this type of nuclear waste, whether it be low level or high level, to be received. I just don't understand why it's coming now to Midland. It's going to be in our backyard. You know, I think about if my neighbor's house was on fire, would I just sit there and watch the house burn? No, I'd call 911. I'd probably get my water hose and try to do the best I could. But if there's any other way to prevent it, definitely. I would try anything in my ability to prevent it. You know, I represent the Midland community, and my community is against this nuclear waste coming through Midland. So therefore, it's my duty and my obligation as an elected official to speak up against this. I don't see anything good I am very concerned that it's coming through our railway. I understand that we are not Andrews County. I understand that that's something that's in their privy that they need to do. But it does give us an opportunity to speak out. And I am very, very much against this. Instead of receiving calls and talking to people and getting angry because people don't agree with my thoughts, I think it's best to take the bull by the horns, talk about it publicly, because this is something that's going to affect us. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm very afraid. I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but everything that I read, the more that I research, this is scary. I mean, it is very scary. If one accident, if 0.0001% can be just one accident, what is that 0.0001%? How bad is it gonna affect my community? I was born and raised in Midland, and this is definitely something that I do not want to see coming down our railway and our roads.
Okay. Mr. Prude?
I don't know where to start. I've lived here since 1952, and I happen to have there's risks and rewards for everything. I happen to have a lake house in Granbury, and so I understand the value of nuclear energy. Matter of fact, it has, so I understand I'm in favor of all sorts of different kinds of energy sources, but that place there gets energy and gets reward, it gets tax money, it gets a lot of benefits, and the risks have been mitigated, and the people that live there and have moved there have done there knowing that there was potential risk. So I'm not opposed at all to nuclear energy. In fact, I was very much in favor of the plant they were wanting to build. About 10 years ago, there was a high, I think it's called T3 or something, H3 or something. Maybe some of you experts could tell me, but it's a different type of a nuclear plant that they built in Japan. As a result, they've tried to do different there since they've had their accident. And supposedly the waste was far different in how to treat it. That's beside the point. I absolutely, we live in a different world today. There are low-level terrorists who could figure out very easily how to thwart all this testing that's been done. The testing that's been done so far is normal safety procedures on these canisters and so forth. I don't know that you can test against potential terrorists. However, I think a low-level man or woman who's been radicalized could very easily figure out how to turn Midland and Odessa into a nuclear waste. That's my belief. If I've been trying to listen this morning for anything that might negate that or make that too extreme or something like that, I think if anything, it could be worse than what I've imagined. I may be dead and gone a long time before there's a problem. But that would be very irresponsible of me, in my opinion, to allow something to happen with no benefit whatsoever to Midland, no benefit to our citizens. And I happen to love Andrews. I used to date a girl there and I burned up the roads, many hours burning up the roads going up and down to Andrews. I competed in tennis and slide rule, but some of you are probably too young to understand what a slide rule is. But number sense, and I love Andrews. I very much support their city manager and their commissioners. We're good friends. So this is not a condemnation of any kind of idea that they have concerning business and so forth. But for me, I absolutely do not want, if there's anything I can do or say to help. So if you have a plant in America, keep it where it's at. Keep your own stuff until we have a permanent, well thought out repository. And don't transport it once thinking you're going to transport it again. Once you've gotten rid of it out of somebody's purview who is rich, and it goes into somebody's purview who's not rich and not powerful, they will never, ever get rid of that stuff. It will always be on their backs. And so I want us to send out a strong and clear message that I would love for this Commissioners Court to say we just don't want this stuff coming through our community. And that's my preliminary statement.
Okay. Anybody else? Scott?
I'd just like to say I'm skeptical of the assessments on this deal on both sides. It's really easy to cherry pick all the news article, any statistical data, anything you can do. But I'm also skeptical of any kind of federal government assessment, as is most everybody. I also I got to take exception to some of these hyperactive statements that have been made, such as equating these barrels or nuclear waste to an atomic bomb that was blown up over Japan. That just, it doesn't fit. I'm also skeptical of the court's ability to really affect this. I'm new, maybe that's why, I don't know. I too, like Luis, have had numerous phone calls, not just the people he mentioned, but some friends have called me. So, in this instance, I'm going to, probably listen to them and do as they've asked their elected official.
I just concur with Scott.
Okay. Let me share with everybody what I learned from DC, and been invited and going to take up the offer to go up there and sit down in at least one hearing. But let's start with Representative Conaway. I believe David Rosen mentioned that Mr. Conaway was sponsoring a bill. He does have a bill. The bill's high points consist of the following. Anybody that's going to take these wastes under the current conversation has to meet an incredibly high financial threshold. By his own definition of that threshold, he doesn't know anybody that can get there yet. There has been no application, and I'm speaking of a conversation with him last week. There was no application by anybody. The hearings have not started. There is a active conversation at the Atomic Energy Commission, and maybe that's what we may be confusing hearings with active conversations. There is a very active conversation about this subject. As to a timetable when the first shipment, assuming it's approved and somebody meets the staggering financial consideration that our congressman has put forth in his bill, which I really like. I mean, it's substantial. Then it's anybody's estimate that it could be 5 years to 8 years. And those are just numbers in a conversation. They're not written down in fact anywhere. It could be 5, it could be 8, it could be 10. More importantly, ask him about the permanent site. And he says that's decades away. Even after all the investment the federal government's made, it's still decades away. And that required the question, well, why are we moving it twice? And he says, he's kind of of the same mind. Why are you moving it twice? Or more particularly, is there an accommodation at its local site? Don't know that. So we're on the very early bit of the conversation with those communities where it travels through under the current conversation. And I keep using current because this is apparently a very fluid conversation in DC. But yes, they're going to do something with the spent rods. Where's it going? Andrews County has stepped up, as has a couple of other counties, multiple locations. My question back to him, and he didn't know the answer, and I got to tell you, I don't know the answer either. It's just a question. The French, the largest users of nuclear energy for consumer purposes, have had this problem before we had it. So can we learn anything from how they handled it? Don't know. Hope to get that answer soon. But in terms of the context of what each of you have expressed, pro and con, the proposal that will come out of this court, and there will be a resolution, it'll probably be on next court meeting if we can get all our legal language done right. But these are the 5 points that as a group we've kind of coalesced around, and I'm assuming on one of these points, because we haven't got to speak to each other, because we can only talk about business inside this courtroom. Number one is that we request that there be local hearings once a route is proposed. And that proposal means it's filed in the public record in DC and it says it's going from here to here and here's how it's going to go. Not these conversations. It could do this and it could do that. If you propose a route, we'd like local hearings along the routing. We would like to have and almost require, and we can use the word require, we'd like to require federal training and funding for responders prior to the first shipment and continued funding as long as this practice goes forward. Number 3 is inspections and upgrading of all rail capacity in our communities if that's the chosen method that's published in the register. Number 4, and this could be number 1 as easily as number 4, is a public explanation why sites cannot hold the spent rods at their location, not needing transporting. There are more than 20 of these sites across the U.S. that I'm aware of. And the congressman and I and another member in the Senate talked about, we don't know that answer. There are fault lines in California. There's a fault line in Austin, but Austin's site is down on the Gulf Coast. But those that have obvious historical geometric issues might need to transport, but could that transporting occur in a shorter distance? And then number 1, and it's actually 5 on our considerations, is asking the question, why do they have to be moved at all? And this goes back to the French answer. But the approach that the court will say, yeah, we're not in favor of it, is what we're hearing based on what we know now. But we would like these questions answered and then become a participant in a discussion, not a legal intervener, because quite honestly, in visiting with the legal community that we use, they say you're going to have a hard time getting standing because there isn't a defined route yet. So knowing what we know right now, those would kind of be the questions that will be put forth in a resolution. Are we for it or against it? Our community doesn't like it right now based on the lack of information and the safeguards that have been fully explained. And my colleagues have just heard this for the first time, and I welcome any comments along the way. But that's kind of where we are. It is a well-known fact. We can flap our gums and spit out a lot of hot air on almost any subject. The reality is we can't prohibit this. We can only voice what our community says they don't want. It is 100%, at this point, 100% a federal government project. It is a 100% directive of how to be transported by the government. It's not the railroad company saying, hey, we want more spent fuels on our tracks. And it's a partnership between not only the folks in Andrews County, but there's some folks in Utah, there's some folks in California that we're now being made aware of that are commercial business operations that this is their business is waste. And it's those folks that need to engage in the conversation at a much higher level. But it's my feeling, not fact, it's only my feeling in talking to DC, that opportunity hasn't been fully given. So, yeah, it's kind of a, we're from the federal government, we're here to help you. Well, this may be the classic case of that statement.
I'd like to take this time to, I know that on item 11, it says discuss and take action.
Yeah.
on a resolution for nuclear
Yes.
waste. I'd like to make a motion that we start working on this resolution for nuclear waste in opposition of this. I want this resolution to be in opposition of the nuclear waste that will be possibly, again, I say possibly, traveling through Midland County. Like Judge Bradford stated, we don't know what that route is, but I'd like for us to make a motion on that.
Okay, if you're a little ahead of me, let me call the item up if we're through with conversation, are we?
Well, I have one, Scott brought up an interesting point I'd like for us to know more about.
Sure.
Food for thought about either side could be a little bit overstating in their position. I do wonder this, and this could be either Karen or Steve or Tom. I'm not sure which expert would want to address this, but the question is, so what, I don't want to give any ideas to any terrorists, but what low-level activity could be carried out on a train load full of spent rods, whether it's in Midland County or Andrews or California? I don't really care. I mean, I do care. I don't want it to be anywhere. But if a train load full of these canisters that has been proposed was to be attacked with a low-level terrorist using known things like, before 9/11, no one thought you could bring down the World Trade Tower by flying a plane into it. It was inconceivable. And so my question would be, if somebody were to devise, how easy would it be to devise an attack on a transported nuclear waste, and then how deadly would that be if it's not a nuclear bomb like a Nagasaki or Hiroshima? What actually could you expect to happen?
Let me, before you answer that, Smitty, that question was posed to the folks in D.C., and I guess I could classify the answer is that's Homeland Security arena, which we haven't even walked over there and asked them yet. We're just talking about spent rods, where do we take them? The security issue is being done by a third and maybe a fourth federal agency. Smitty, go ahead.
So this is again is Tom Smith or Smitty from Public Citizen for the record. And Judge, I think that points out one of the reasons why this is such a wise resolution that you're considering, and it's 5 parts. We don't have the transportation routes figured out, but what we do have is this one opportunity to, in the environmental impact statement, submit a comment to request that this kind of a process that you're discussing be implemented. And that's why Bexar County is doing it, why Dallas County is doing it, or is considering it on the 4th, and why the city of San Antonio is looking at it. There is an opportunity by the April 28th to submit a written comment, which is what this would consist of, asking that this be considered as part of the environmental impact statement and studied before the NRC grants a license to WCS for this operation. And the license will be coming, if it's granted, expected perhaps in 2019 at the earliest, operations beginning in 2021, according to WCS. And the transportation study won't be done until 2022. This is literally getting the cart before the horse and getting the license before you have the opportunity for the study. Now, the question of what kind of...
if you would address Commissioner Pruitt's question.
About the risks. I think there are many. One is the traditional weakening the rail lines. Back in the Western days, the bad guys used to weaken the rail line, cause a derailment. But I think that the more likely one today is through drones and other kind of unexpected attacks from people within the country or without that can literally fly a drone and manage it from someplace outside the boundaries of this country. And the technology that we're seeing used in the Middle East now is emerging relatively rapidly. And the places that you would think that you would, and I am not a terrorist, and I've been having really hard time to put myself in the mindset of how would I attack this country. But if you were to do it, it would be in places like Midland or Houston, the oil capitals of the country, where you could have significant consequential impacts and take out major production facilities, or places like San Antonio, where you have as many as 5 military bases, all of which are places where you have many different places where you could hide the technology that could be used for attacks. And the question is, over the period of time that this waste is going to be transported, how many other things that we never anticipated, like the drone technology, are going to be put into place that could be avenues of attack? And I don't know that. But I certainly think that the kind of analyses that you folks are talking about are really critical.
So the real question is, though, that I have is, so if an attack took place and was successful, but I'm not granting, but I'm saying if one was successful in opening up the canisters.
Yes.
Okay, what kind of actual damage would occur?
So there are 2 pathways. One is the inhalation of the plutonium, which can cause cancer and birth defects.
So you would do it on a windy day, in other words?
I would certainly, if I were to think like a terrorist, that would be an ideal situation.
Right.
The other is, going to your point, is if there were an agent that would cause an explosion to happen, you would then have something very similar to a nuclear bomb. You would have to put in the detonator, as it were, and it would have to be broken open to be able to have that happen.
But even if you didn't have a detonator and you just had a dirty bomb, so to speak, that we've heard about in the news, what's the kill rate within, say, a 50 square mile area, or you name the area?
I haven't done that analysis, but, and maybe Karen knows that number, I don't.
Go ahead, Karen. Let me get to
Actually, we don't have that data, and I think a lot of it has not been made public. You know, it has been in the realm of Homeland Security. Certainly, we never want to see anything like that happen. One of the things I want to clarify is that the shipments, we're not trying to say that these shipments are like bombs on the rails. They're not in bomb form. When we talk about how much plutonium is there, that's really about the amount and concentration of plutonium that would be contained on that rail car, which could be released in terms of, and then inhalation and potential for the waterways to be impacted.
If I could, let's get back to what is our capability and what can we do. And we have, unless you have another question,
Well,
no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. I thought you were calling on me there.
No. So, based on that, let me call item 11, discuss take action resolution for nuclear waste. Commissioner Sanchez is wishing to make a motion. Commissioner?
I'd like to make a motion that we take action on a resolution against the nuclear waste coming through Midland County.
Commissioner, could we say that it's based on the 5 points that the judge proposed?
You can base it on the 5 points that Judge Bradford proposed, definitely.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. You'll see a resolution coming forward, and it is a shared opinion by those I spoke with in D.C. and myself. This is not the first time we're going to be talking about this, and it will kind of ratchet up as we move to if they're going to do it, whether it be the company in Andrews or some other company, how's it going to be stored? And then 2 more larger questions, and that is the methodology of transport over what calendar, what kind of time. And lastly, when does this really get started? And I'm not convinced that it's a very short time views. Having participated in hearings in D.C. before, now there could be something going on behind the scenes we don't know a thing about, but the public side of it appears to be somewhat lengthy. So the court has acted. You'll see it next court meeting. It will contain the 5 elements we're talking about, crafted in a way, as I keep saying, that we can get it said and get it into the record as opposed to into the trash can. So, okay.
Judge, I have one last comment.
Yes.
And this is for the media and for everybody who's here. The U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, of course, some of you already know that the comment period was to end on March 13th. They have extended it to April 28th. Unfortunately, you have to go all the way to Rockville, Maryland to speak on it. So they're not having something here local. So those of you who want to speak against it, we will have to travel all the way to Maryland. So it's kind of concerning to me because this waste site is here locally, but you have to go all the way to Rockville, Maryland to their headquarters to be able to speak at their public meeting where they're going to be receiving comments. So I just want to make sure that, yes, go ahead, David.
Excuse me, Commissioner Sanchez.
David,
Can you get
would
to
you
the-
come up to the microphone, please?
Yes, sir. We can make these comments.
David Rosen is speaking.
Yes, sir.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. We can make these comments by postal mail or by email as well.
Yeah.
And we can
Correct.
get you those connections.
Absolutely. I was just talking about the public meeting that they're going to be having. It's going to be held on that day in Maryland. Yes, ma'am.
I believe, and I will double check this and get back.
Start with
you.
your name, please.
I'm sorry, Karen Haddon with Seed Coalition. I believe that they are going to make that where you can participate online, and that way you would actually be able to make a live comment. But I will get back with you on that and confirm that for sure.
Okay, thank you. I don't see that on their website, but
Yeah, because-
it could change.
Well, and sometimes it's hard to get the full information. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
On behalf of the Midland County Commissioners Court, we thank each of you for attending and each of you for expressing your comments in an orderly manner, both pro or con. The court has acted as to what we are going to do, and I suggest to you there may be more to come, but we're not trying to step in front of free enterprise, but we are trying to raise questions that surround our community and our citizens have asked us to address. So thank you very much. Based on that, I have a message from an undisclosed commissioner that we need to take about a 5-minute break. So we're in recess for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Well, you know, it's scary. Scary. Right now, we're dealing with the social work sites that I have.
Nobody's ever seen this.
Hey, man, how's it going? Good. Sure. Thanks, Simone.
Yeah, would you mind, talk to them at the same time? Or?
Yeah, that works
Sure.
for me,
Okay.
or whatever works best for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry,
See
this
you
year
at
was
the
in my school.
I've got to be here all day, so.
Now they're thinking about coming back to it.
Did you kind of like leave that for all the commissioners kind of speaking out against it?
No, I mean, it's the way it works. The public, so what you saw, it's just you have discussion. So there's no anybody leading any effort. You make your decision while we're here.
How are you?
I'll ask them on Monday.
Okay, sure.
Was, you had mentioned that seasons, how many people from exactly. What were they telling you?
Just saying that they wanted the commissioners to have a resolution showing that Midland County is against the, it's coming through railway is one suggestion. Of course, we're also hearing that it might be coming through our roads and our interstate. So people are opposed to that. They don't want it coming through our community.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry. Started late. And could you say and spell your name just for the record?
Sure. Luis, Luis Sanchez, S-A-N-C-H-E-Z. And so community members that have been calling are saying that they are against or they are opposed to having this nuclear waste come through our county, whether it be through rail or come through the interstate or any
Apparently, this button right here is supposed to just magically
What's kind
replace
of
everything.
the overall, I guess everybody in the community seems like
where's my
they've today
camera?
been against it. What are some of those concerns with?
Some of the concerns are some of the fears of possible, for example, people talk about terrorist attack, which is something that's very viable. We also talk about any accidents. As we mentioned before, as I was mentioning, accidents can happen. Even if it's 0.0001%, it's still 0.0001%. And if it was to occur, how can we deal with it here in Midland County when we don't have that capability? I talk about unfunded mandates. We talk about how the legislature always has unfunded mandates. Well, my question would this be another type of unfunded mandate, which means we have to start training our local law enforcement firefighters to make sure that if something like this was to occur, for us to be able to clean it up, to be able to stop it, it's going to take additional funds to do that. And that's something that we do need to think about. It's not going to come cheap. So that's something else that has been brought to my attention. Of course, as taxpayers, people are concerned about that as well.
Email it to me.
So I did initially come about.
Citizens calling. Citizens are calling, us as representatives saying, hey, we're hearing that this is happening in the county next to us. What is it that we can do to make sure that it does not travel through our county? And that's really the bottom line. People in this community do not want this nuclear waste coming through our county.
This is on federal. Go ahead.
Could you further describe what you all decided today with the points that
Sure. So right now we're going to be looking at the resolution, the 5 points that Judge Bradford talked about. And so once that resolution comes up, to make sure that we have the wording correct, then it's going to be presented back in Commissioner's Court to be voted on.
So today we just voted on for that resolution.
Right, because we were expecting to have a resolution today, but after hearing all the testimony and seeing how it needs to be worded, we definitely need to go back and make sure that it's something that's going to fit the purview of Midland County.
Can you quickly go over those 5 points?
Yeah, you'll have to talk to Judge Bradford about that because he's the one that wrote them down, and he'll have better information on that.
Anything else that you think of?
No, that's it.
Good. So? Hi, how are you? Good.
Yeah, we're going to be here because we still have more items on the agenda. All right.
How you doing today? I have this drilled down. I come way over here.
I don't have all the names, but if I get it, we're going to be going late this afternoon.
Resolution. 5.2 service. Oh my. changes things.
Now nothing works.
Well, they're trying to get everybody, what Dollinger said was, they're trying to get everybody in line to say no. And have that as part of the record. Because when you look at yes.
$13 months I sat in this courtroom once a month watching this game. Most of the time, I was out the door, but y'all going into executive session. This is a piece of cake. Since I've been doing it,
Particularly the last couple of months.
Things like that. Just concerned.
We just, it's unusual what's
especially when it's volatile as this do.
well, and this is
Video is going to
Yes, I realize that this was the transmission. But the that's like,
well, they've got a problem with their budget because
On the state side.
they look at it, they're at the top of their operations budget, and then they've got the debt. So you're, what's $1.60 or something? That's not included. So.
Yeah, some of his points were
Got two.
Oh, absolutely.
We got one. They're 3 years away.
that will have to be
Really there's a disaster.
Well, and that's what, talk about city a lot about. Road out there, south. Anyway, this, can I ask you on that?
Yes.
In the developed area,
No.
Yeah.
study that was made about the area. Yeah, that were another disaster. There's not enough egress. I guess you could get. Hey, that's all. Well, we had talked to him, I mean, we've talked to all these people. They got to talk to council. And we can get the city. Well, I think their reasoning is get 4B tax. But ours is next step out is working on 1250. Intersection there, 1250. You know where Big Dog Road is? Yeah, I know. It's okay. You know, yeah. Right there, we could take and go straight in out, straight north, along the east line, Big Dog Express, then down to Big Dog. You could get through there. Those are the alternatives. Five years ago, they decided not to do the silver. Say that it's through the board. You know, they're going to expand that all the way out to Martin County. The city is participating. They're going to redo that 5 lanes all the way up to the area. So that's why they're letting it deteriorate like it is. At least that explains it. They're going to redo the whole thing just like they did south. There's the service roads on either side. 5 lanes going out there. That's a project. Yeah, they're basically cars are gone right now. Yeah, I mean, that's part of our discussion. What we're going to bring up. 19.5 miles. We have caught might be able to do Did you want to bring my bedroll? Thank you. That was good. Well, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Okay, you ready? We're back in session by my watch at 11:36, and kind of that took some more time than we allotted, so we'll try to speed through here. We're going to break at noon. We will come back at 1:30 for a specific tax abatement request. And then if we have agenda left, we'll take it after that. So let's go to item 12, discuss take action on reappointment to the Board of Directors for the Midland County Housing Authority. You have a letter from the Housing Authority asking that Mr. Keith Dial be put on the board and continue his service. He's willing to do that. Any discussion or motions?
Judge, I'll make the motion that we approve him.
All right, we have a motion. Second. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 13, discuss take action on library donations. Mr. T.
Judge, Commissioners, you should have a backup. It's just material, no monetary.
Okay, any questions or motions?
Motion to approve?
Second. Have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Judge, one more.
Yes, sir.
When I was doing something else back when we approved the minutes from last meeting.
Yes, sir.
On item number 5, there's just a misspelling of the word acres.
Let me recall it
I'd
real
like
quick.
I'd like for us to just.
Number 6 is being recalled. Discuss take action in court minutes for March 13, 2017. Commissioner Pruitt.
If you look at item number 5, it says, received presentation from Susie Hiscock Hall, and it talked about 7 acres of land, and it should be corrected to acres.
Okay, the correction is acres being misspelled.
That's all.
Is that a motion?
Make that a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 14, discuss take action authorizing county judge sign agreement making Midland County Public Libraries a host site for live stream of Live at the Lincoln Center Performance Series. Is there a license involved in this?
Yes, sir. Much like we do public performance of movies, there is an agreement and a license to get. Mr. Malm's had the agreement. Obviously, Mr. Malm's not here. I just would ask that that the court would approve it pending Mr. Malm's review.
Okay. Letty, would you ask Russell to get that to us by Monday, please, so I can, if the court approves it?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it'll be good for our community. A lot of times you have to pay to go to the movies to see some of those things, but we'd have access to the entire Live at Lincoln Center catalog, and we could build programming and events around it at Centennial.
Free?
Yes, sir, free.
All right.
I'd make that motion that we authorize county judge to sign agreement making Midland County Public Library a host site.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 15, discuss take action authorizing county judge to sign Midland Public Library's annual report to the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. John.
You've gotten a lot of data over the last few courts. That's just what we've been doing in compiling the state report, which is required for us for accreditation from the state library. It's an annual thing. The report requires the county judge's signature, the library director, and Mr. Schaefer is the advisory board. I believe the judge has that. It's due the end of the month, which is Friday for us. So this was our last chance to get it on the agenda. But we did get the report done, and y'all have seen most of that data.
John, would you refresh us on how many what that degree is called, and how many of you have it that's required for accreditation?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Commissioner. So the state library sets standards, and it's based on service population. So for communities our size, we're required to have 5 MLS librarians, Masters of Library Science, professional librarians.
And by our size, up to how many people?
It's 125,000 up to $250,000.
Okay.
And a $250,000 threshold, and there's a and then it's just Harris County, San Antonio, Dallas.
Right.
And so currently we sit on the number, which is a little, I mean, we're going to be fine for accreditation this next year, but I need to do a better job of recruitment and retention of
I was going to make
professional
the
librarians.
court aware that I had the privilege of addressing the new hires last was it 2 weeks ago, Bailey? But one of them is actually having or working on that accreditation, one of your new hires.
Yes, sir.
And so you're probably aware of that, but in case you weren't, that's a good thing. All right.
Okay.
Make a motion that we accept the report.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
I'm sorry,
Motion
Commissioner,
passes.
you said accept the report. I actually need him to authorize.
And authorize the judge to sign it.
Thank you.
Second.
Let's vote again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 16, acknowledge donation, $250 from Stephen and Jessica Lowry. To who?
To the library. I apologize. Yes.
To the library directly?
Yes, sir. They did not
So it
give to
goes
the
to the
foundation.
auditor.
Yes, the auditor's office will receive
Okay.
that in our undesignated donation line.
All right.
They are longtime supporters. She and her young children are users. They had the opportunity to attend the Bush event with someone, and it meant a lot, and so they just made a donation.
How nice.
How
Yes, sir.
nice.
It was.
Acknowledge.
Okay.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. 17, discuss take action on hotel above rate per diem for the district attorney's office, and this has got to be Austin, Texas.
It is. Going to Austin May 7th through the 10th to go assist TDCAA with the very end of the legislative session and to provide some testimony. Tim Flathers and I are going. The rate is $141. The best I could secure for a hotel was $239.
I got it. And if you got it $239, you still got a deal.
I still got a deal. The majority of the rates were in the 400s.
Okay.
Motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. 18.
The water parks in San Marcos.
18, discuss take action on memorandum of understanding between the Midland County and Permian Basin Regional Council on alcohol and drug. And this, God bless you, you have waited so long.
I know.
Thank you
Thank
patiently
you,
for
thank you,
waiting.
Your Honor and Commissioners. I just wanted to ask for permission to get the memorandum of
Would you
understanding
repeat your name and
signed.
address?
Yes, my name is Carrie Brona. I'm with the Permian Basin Regional Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse at 120 East 2nd Street in Odessa, Texas.
Thank you.
But I serve Midland. So,
You notice I didn't ask you for your phone number. Just for the record, I was, just want everybody to know that.
So the document that I'm asking to be signed is a memorandum of understanding. We are a nonprofit organization focused on substance abuse prevention, and we serve 30 counties within the West Texas area, Midland County being one. We have 3 state-funded grants that serve Midland County specifically, and the memorandum of understanding is just saying that you work with us and collaborate, and we try to prevent drug abuse in our communities.
Have it in my hand. It reads just like the one did last year as far as I can tell.
Yes, it is.
Is there a discussion or a motion?
Motion that we approve the judge signing the memorandum.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Perfect. Can I approach and give you our regional needs assessment, which is data pertaining to
Absolutely.
substance abuse for each of you guys, that you can read and hopefully
Thanks.
appropriate more money into the community.
And if you will hand that to Jenny, we need to make a copy of it before you take it. Unless you have a copy. Do you have a copy?
Thank you.
And again, thanks for being patient with us. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move forward to number 19, acknowledge annual report from pretrial. Priscilla, good morning, afternoon, weekend, whatever it is. Okay,
You should have a backup,
okay,
and as we can see, our numbers are down by 300. And most of these are misdemeanors from the past year. Most of those were doing a lot of cash bonds. Our failure to appears have gone down,
good.
but the failure to report have gone up.
Okay. Any questions of Priscilla or questions of the operation?
Motion to acknowledge.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Priscilla, and thanks for the good job you're doing. Number 20, discuss take action on amended engagement letter with Weaver. This is, we discovered we had to have a second a second audit because of certain numbers that we exceeded, mainly with highway funding from CTERS. And so we can discuss it all day, but this is a requirement of the audit.
Yes, sir. It's a single audit that we have to comply with because of those state funds that exceed $500,000. It will allow, it's more extensive testing that they have to do. I know we usually try to shoot for getting that audit out by the end of March or beginning of April. It might take just a little bit longer because of that fact. And it also requires, I believe they were going to charge us around a $5,000 additional amount that the external audit is going to cost us.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can, we got $5.9 million on that grant, so.
Yep.
Unfortunately. I would make the motion that we amend the memorandum, the engagement letter with Weaver.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 21, Justin, discuss take action on Tyler Technology Service Agreement. Why are they here?
What's that?
Why is Tyler's?
It's New World.
It's New World.
Okay.
So we already own New World, and currently, when we first installed the application, they didn't support SQL 2014, which was our current version of database software.
Of course.
So we installed it on SQL 2008. We got an email a month ago saying you have to be on 2014 by the end of the year. They started supporting it 2 weeks after we installed it.
Is this a budgeted item?
It's not a budget item, but we have the money. It's something that is so sophisticated, I would recommend New World do. If we buy it now for the services, before June, starting in June, the price increases all the way to the end of the year, about $8,000, but the final price is about double. So this is not something me and Mike feel comfortable doing at all, because when we initially installed the software, lots of issues, undocumented issues, that they had to research themselves. So.
Justin, you're just making a point that the courts had a conversation about already. This is a classic Tyler method, that we get something and then they start ratcheting it up immediately, and it's just, in my view, not a good way to do business.
But I would not feel comfortable moving forward unless they did this migration for us.
Okay.
Due to the lack of documentation that they usually provide.
Okay.
Do you anticipate problems with it again?
If we did ourselves, I do.
What about if they?
I can't say. I can tell you. I can tell you whenever we went live, that day the application ran very slow. They recommended we needed a lot more memory on the server, so the next day we had to migrate it. It took us 2 days, and I was on the phone with the guy starting at 6 in the morning till end of the day and half the next day, and he didn't want to call me back because he was having issues.
Commissioner, this is one of those cases where we bought a better financial product, New World, and as we were acquiring it and it was being installed, it got acquired by Tyler.
New World itself, I would say, it's a good product. I mean, I'm not knocking the product at all. It's the technical piece of moving it from one database version to another that I want their assistance with.
Okay.
So Justin, would you expect that this is a one-time event?
Well, it's moving from SQL 2008 to 2014. I'm sure next year they're going to want us to go to 2016, but currently they don't support it. So,
if their history is any indication, Randy, this will be an every year deal.
Yeah.
it's basically a software version upgrade.
The initial installation, Tyler was not the company that.
Right.
Correct. It was New World.
Yeah.
The amount is 4,000, is that correct?
4,000 for their services. That would include them moving over the 3 application servers. We have a production server and 2 training servers or test servers, moving all the custom reports and databases. There's several databases: payroll, financial management, and.
Okay.
I'd make the motion that we approve the Tyler Technologies Service Agreement.
Second.
The reason
Motion
I'm-
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
The only reason I brought it to court is because I needed to get signed by the judge. So.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. 22, acknowledge summary of all collections for February 2017. Karen, good morning. Good afternoon. Good day.
Yeah, we can make this quick and simple. You have my collections of all, summary of all collections for February 2017 in front of you.
Any questions, Ms. Hood?
Just quickly, what's the tax debt fund?
Pardon me?
What's the tax debt fund? Am I reading that right?
Would you like to answer that question? The tax debt fund definition? The debt fund, our debt fund. He wants to know what our debt fund is.
This is just to pay for our certificates of obligation. Part of, we do have the
Jail.
new, yes, the jail.
Okay, thank you.
We're required to account for it separately. Okay, any questions, Ms. Hood?
That she can answer.
That
My
hotel
apologies.
motel tax,
You know, I was asked about that, and I did run some reports, but I failed to submit them to Jenny to get them into court, and I will try to bring those. I mean, it was significantly down, and we're building back up, but I meant to bring those so that, because you had requested them, so I will try to remember to bring those next
Or
court.
just send them, email them.
You could
Just email them to you?
just send them to
Okay,
each of
I
us.
will do that.
Okay?
Are you saying, Karen, that the amount is higher and you just haven't received them in yet, or that the actual collections are down?
Actual collections are down. I think I looked at the current year and the last couple of years of where we came from, so I can email each one of you those reports so that you can see.
But are we sure that they're accurate in terms of everybody's paying what they're supposed to be paying?
Yes, we kind of went over a review with that when I was submitting audit information to the auditor's office. So, I mean, she can probably make some clarifications on that as well. But we keep a very accurate accounting of who's paid and who hasn't paid. So, yeah, I feel
Okay.
confident in it.
Okay.
There you go.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. 23, discuss take action on payment of invoice for sheriff's office. What are we paying, Sheriff?
This is an invoice from 2016, back in April. That somehow or another got dropped out, lost, or
It's when you had a plumbing problem.
we had a plumbing problem. We had an emergency situation with the boiler.
Yep.
We had to call Bosworth in. It was an emergency deal. We need to ask him to get this paid out of contingency. Otherwise, this will cut into our budget this year and wipe us out. And so
Wipe out your maintenance?
just about, yes, sir, for this year, for this budget year. This was in the 2016 budget year, and it got dropped out,
Okay, so
lost.
we're a year behind on getting this paid.
Yes.
We never received the invoice.
You're not on.
Bosworth was having some problems with their accounting and filing and stuff, and that's one of the problems.
She told us we didn't pay it. It's our bill, we need to pay it.
Yes, sir, we never received the invoice. Bosworth is now going back, and they're trying to find any invoices that, you know, they had never received payment on, and this happens to be one of them. There was a PO opened on this, but at fiscal year end, or 2 or 3 months after fiscal year end, we went ahead and closed all the POs that we hadn't received it, thinking that maybe we didn't get this, we didn't get the services, since we're not aware of we didn't receive any kind of exception from anyone of those services rendered. And so now they're trying to keep up with their accounting, and they're finding invoices and going through their system, and this happens to be one of them, in the amount of $10,500.
$10,500 out of contingency for an old plumbing fix.
Yes, sir.
Veronica, I recently received, I had a new water heater put in, and I received the same invoice 3 times. I paid it the first time I got it, and then they said they corrected it the second time, and after about 3 times, they still wasn't corrected. So I would make double sure that this work actually took place, it wasn't a duplicate, and that we hadn't paid it.
No, it actually took place. It was an emergency situation.
Sheriff called me about it. I remember this.
Yeah, we did it. I remember it.
Okay.
Randy, you're not asking us to pay for your water heater, are you?
No. Oh, I'm just saying their accounting system, there's something messed up with it recently,
Okay.
so.
We've double checked, we have not paid.
Okay, 10,000 out,
Very good.
10,500 out of
10,500.
contingency.
I would make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. 24, discuss take action on donation of $100 to the Midland County Sheriff's Office from Ms. Linda McGuire Dyer.
She designated it to whatever the sheriff wants, and be going into the donation account.
So that would be to take the commissioners to lunch?
I don't think so.
I heard you.
Thanks very much.
I heard you say anything you wanted, so. Okay. How are you going to use it, Sheriff?
We're probably going to put it in the bulletproof vest fund.
Okay. All right. If you'll take care of the thank you letter once it gets approved.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
Motion to acknowledge.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. 25, discuss take action authorizing the county judge sign West Texas HIDA award letter. This is an annual deal.
Yes, sir, and you have signed the grant request. This is the grant award.
Yes, sir.
And your signature is needed on 2 places right here.
Okay, is there questions or a motion to approve it?
Is this,
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
is this about the same funding that we got before?
Yes, sir. It's pretty close to it. Yes, sir.
Okay, and I believe that motion passed, didn't it, madam?
Yes. Yeah.
You'll make sure Jenny gets a copy of this,
Yes, sir.
please. Whoops. It's 27th. There you go. Okay.
And that-
I was just looking at, it says funding at a rate of 57.3% of 2016 funding. I was.
Yeah, it dropped. The governor's office is cutting a lot of stuff.
It's going down again, and I've already been called.
It's
so.
going down again, going through the Regional Planning Commission. A lot of stuff is getting ripped out and cut back, so that's where we're at.
All right, so we approve that. Item 26, discuss take action on out-of-state travel for Chief Deputy Rory McKinney to attend the National Sheriff's Association Conference, Reno, Nevada, on June 23rd through 29th, 2017.
We have a sheriff out of Rockwall County in Texas that's being installed as the president of the National Sheriff's Association, and trying to get as many people we can to go up there and make a representation for Texas, and requesting the chief deputy be allowed to travel.
Is this a budgeted item?
It is, yes, sir.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you very much.
Let's do purchasing, then we'll break for lunch. 27, discuss take action on record preservation for county clerk. Chris, you're not Christie.
No, sir. Good almost afternoon, Judge and Court.
Alex, what do we got here? What do we gonna do?
The first item is a budgeted item for the coal file preservation for the county clerk. She has 2 volumes of field notes that need to be preserved. It is a budgeted item and is under the Tex Mass contract.
Okay, a side note, just for information, we'll see this coming, is the clerk and I spoke. We believe this company has the ability to digitize and preserve county records and their own Tex Mass, so we get a good price. This will be our trial to make sure it's done the way the elected needed it done. So we may be seeing a much larger contract later.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Okay, he's asked for preservation.
Yes, it is a budgeted item.
I'd make the motion that we enter into a contract with co-file for records preservation for the county clerk.
Motion, is there a second?
Second?
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. 28, discuss take action on freeze-less yard hydrant and horseshoe.
It is a non-freeze. It's not a freeze. I don't know, there was a typo there. This is not a budgeted item, and there is currently a line item transfer number 4321, where they're moving some money out of the, they're moving out of horseshoe, let me see, where you're moving it out of facilities into the horseshoe facility.
Okay. Tim, you have any explanation, please?
Yes, out there where we built the open-air horse stalls.
Yes.
We're installing water at each one of those, and it's just one of those freeze-proof barn hydrants.
Okay.
Where the valving's 3 feet underground. That makes them a little more expensive, but they don't freeze in the wintertime. We're installing 4 of them.
Got you. Discussion or motions?
I'd make the motion that we approve the non-freezing hydrants at the horseshoe.
Okay.
Second?
Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. 29, discuss take action on sidewalk at courthouse.
This is not a budgeted item as well.
Yeah, we're having to
They
put
do-
a sidewalk around the courthouse.
Yeah.
No?
Not around the courthouse, no. We've noticed that a large amount of our courthouse staff cuts through an area right over here, would be on the northeast corner where they come across from the parking lot instead of walking all the way around. They cut through the hedges. So we're going to put a sidewalk there because we're getting complaints when it's rainy and it's nasty that their shoes get nasty and they get stuck in the mud.
Okay.
So we're going to put sidewalk in there and we're going to cut the curb on the inside so that it is ADA acceptable in case somebody in a wheelchair needs to use it.
Hence the cost.
Is this in the middle of, right here off of Main Street, right?
Right on, actually it's on.
Or is it on
this
Michigan?
Corner.
On Michigan?
It's at the crosswalk, right?
Excuse me?
It's at the crosswalk?
It's at the crosswalk, Main and Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's used to be hedges, now it's pretty well, you can
Right.
see where it is, where we're gonna put it, there's a path there.
The reason I asked that is because there's another one here off of Main Street, kind of like in the middle, and people are not using the crosswalk. I just want to make sure that we're not encouraging
No, we're
them
putting this
not
where
to
the
use the.
crosswalk comes across the street, where they come across and get up on the sidewalk. Then they're either gonna have to, they ought either walk around half a block one way or half a block the other. They're cutting across into the parking lot to get to it's the
Okay.
path of least resistance for them.
All right, non-budgeted, but you got the money to do it.
Yes, they have a line item transfer, number 4,300, and they're moving it out of building maintenance into capital
We had
outlay
to move it from one to
infrastructure.
another to get it
Okay.
in the right line.
I'd make the motion that we that we create a concrete sidewalk at the courthouse.
Second.
A motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. 30, discuss take action on roof repairs at LEB.
This is a budgeted item,
Okay,
and we have a quote from Weatherproofing Technologies for $13,521.05.
okay.
Which portion of the roof is it?
It's on it's where where the roof laps up into the parapet wall around the edges. It's coming apart, so they're gonna rework all of it's not the actual roof itself, it's where it joins the little false roof all the way around.
There's new sealant type stuff that people are using. Do you know if what they're using to?
I can't tell you exactly what they're using, but they're gonna have to rebuild some of the flashing and stuff
Those are the
because
only
it's
two
come apart.
that we've identified.
Okay.
All right. Is there a motion or more discussion?
Motion to approve roof repairs at LEB.
Okay,
Second.
motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. Discuss take action on RFP for seal coating, and Lex, I want to add this. In our notes, and correctly so, it says precinct 2 and 3, because we know they need it. But in your RFP, I would make it countywide, because there may be some others that we just overlooked.
Yes, sir.
And I would leave that up to the respective commissioners to notify you.
Yeah, so it'd be an estimated mileage of 19.45, but
As a minimum.
as a minimum.
Along with this motion, do you think we could get a listing of the priority of these roads, Felipe? Okay, just email it to us.
Okay, Lex, so this is asking to go out for an RFP to get the seal cutting done this summer.
That's correct, sir, and we weren't sure if that was a budgeted item or not.
Well, it's budgeted, but you and I are going to have to do some work with the auditor for a couple of sidebar reasons.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion, excuse me. Make the motion, we approve this with the correction of being countywide.
Okay, have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign, motion passes. What I meant is the money's in the budget, but it got in the wrong account.
Yes, sir.
So we'll go there.
Great.
Dwayne, come on up real quick. And 32, discuss take action on fleet accidents. Do you have anything that has to go to executive session?
No, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Back on March 6th, we had unit number 15491. Finally got all the information in on that one. Got the report corrected. What happened was the officers responding code 3 to a man with a gun call. He was struck broadside by a suspicious or a supposed drunk driver. All the stuff's not in yet. The other driver was ticketed for failure to yield right away to emergency vehicle. The problem with this one is we're going to end up having another total on this one. So
Okay.
we're going to need to end up going out and buying another one. So I just need some approval to be able to go ahead and purchase the other one plus equipment.
I would ask that whoever makes the motion, should it come, that we also get from you a listing by unit number and how many rolling stock vehicles have been totaled out this budget year.
No problem.
Okay.
15491.
Is there insurance reimbursement from the party involved?
No insurance. Yeah, person had no insurance also.
Is your plan to go after them?
Yes, we're going to go after restitution.
Okay.
So it will be filed with
All right.
the DAs.
Thank you. Okay, there's the question. Is there a motion or more discussion?
I'd make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We do the thing with the people from out of town at 1:30. So let's come back about 1:15 and try to pick up Mitzi and these other items, and then we can be ready at 1:30. Okay? So at this time, we are in recess till 1:15. It is on, and we are on the record, according to Jenny, who stepped out to get some. It is 1:25 by my watch. We are back in open session, March 27, 2017. We'll pick up with the remaining items real quickly. Our guests are here. And 33, discuss take action authorizing the county judge to sign the Midland County Employee Medical Dental Benefit Plan document effective January 1st, 2017. Mitzi.
Yes, sir. Our medical and dental plan document, we've had in effect for many years. I believe since 2008 is the last time that they actually wrote it up. Since that time, as things have come about, we needed to change in the plan. We had 13 addendums on the back of that plan.
Right.
Obamacare caused at least half of them.
Yes.
Well, so Boone Chapman finally has got all of those addendums now worked into the plan document. All the Obamacare changes that happened that have to be in our document are there. And so this is request to have the authorized the judge to sign off on the new document, and we'll get it out, and
Okay.
should be a little easier for our employees to read instead of trying to find all the addendums
Okay.
attached.
You've heard the explanation. Is there discussion or a motion?
I'd make the motion that we authorize the county judge to sign the Midland County Employee Medical and Dental Benefit Plan document.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 34, to take action acknowledging personnel memorandum. Mitzi?
Yes, sir. Everything's pretty normal, except the second page, you'll see a lot of overtime there. Juvenile detention's overtime is paid for with state money. CID's overtime is paid for with grants. And the patrol overtime is those hours we pay straight time between 160 and 171.
Okay.
So everything's according to policy there.
Any questions?
Motion to acknowledge.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 35, discuss take action on budget line item, thank you, Mitzi. Line item transfers. Veronica? I do.
Yes, sir, I have two line item transfers to bring to your attention.
Yes,
Page
ma'am.
15 of 25, line item transfer number 4255, and that is because it is moving money out of our facilities budget into Horseshoe. It is $4,000, and the explanation provided indicates that it's funds to cover equipment rental for the Horseshoe. The other one is just the same. It's going from facilities to Horseshoe, $6,830, and that's the item that was on the agenda today to install freeze-less yard hydrant. And
Right.
moving out of the building maintenance, out of facilities into capital outlay infrastructure in the Horseshoe.
Okay, thank you. Heard the explanations. Are there questions or motions?
Motion to approve?
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 36, discuss take action on bill wire transfers. We have a couple of exceptions, I know, because they're me.
A couple of them are. So
Okay.
on wire transfers, we have 3 of them today. 2 of them are county clerk, deposit in general, pulled cash account in error, having to do with that IRS issue that we've had to deal with, that we've had some presented to you, each commissioner's court we've had. We do have one for Constable 3 Leo's account for $4,745.40. Constable Macklin's accounts had been closed, and they had put it in pooled cash where we could take care of that Leo's. But since then, Constable has decided he wants to keep his own account for it, which he is able to do.
Name the
But this
constable.
This Constable Rowland.
Okay.
This allows us to move the money out of that pooled cash, and I believe he's opening up his own account, which, like I said, he is able to do. But that is what that transfer is for.
All right.
He's able to open his own account.
Yeah, for the Leo's Fund, the law allows that they have their own account. They can either keep it in the Treasury, or they can have a separate account for it. If they have a separate account for it, they just have to do monthly reconciliations and present all that to my office. If we have it in the Treasury, I mean, of course, we audit everything that goes through it, and that we keep track of all the ins and the outs. But he would still have to submit that to us on a monthly basis. So he has chosen to take this option.
Can you tell me the amount again?
$4,745.40.
She's too kind. The story is, Louise, he closed the account. Then he realized he needed the account and told the bank, move the money over, which you can't do. Has to come through the auditor correctly, and that's what she's informing us of. Okay. All right.
The exceptions this morning to my bills is a Basin Electric invoice out of the Road and Bridge Department, $842.64. There's not a PO attached to this. We never got a quote, so I never knew to do a purchase order for it. Is the exception, the explanation I got from Jessica Buchanan. So $842.64, work done without a PO. I do have a Bosworth. This is a separate one from the one that was taken up in court today, $1,929.11. It indicates there was a PO in the old year. For it, the PO was for $3,000, but this is in the amount of $6,669.11. Actually, it's a different PO invoice than the one I just mentioned. It's $6,669.11, and the PO was only for $3,000. I do have some exceptions in regards to the hotel or lodging per diem for Austin visits for the judge, and 2 separate occasions. One of them is in the amount of $259, the other's in the amount of $372.
Right. Traveled to Austin, Midland, Odessa days, and then a textile hearing Commissioner Donnelly and I went to, and I had a choice of that rate or $400. And then I moved down and slept on a guy's sofa, because the next night that same room went to $375. The second one, I was down there for a hearing, and it's the same scenario that Ms. Nodoff spoke of. Rates are outrageous. They change nightly, even if you don't move rooms. So
Yes, sir.
that's what happened.
And I'm also asking the court to allow me permission to go ahead and pay that Bosworth that the sheriff had brought before you for the $10,500. So that's
Okay.
an additional bill.
Okay? Any others?
That's it.
Okay, you've heard the explanations. Are there any questions or discussions?
Motion to pay all bills and wire transfers.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, thank you for such speedy work. Let's go down and do 38 real quick. Take action on submitted applications for permit to use county right-of-way for utility and line installation, driveway construction, mailbox construction. Precinct 1.
None.
Precinct 2.
I have 6.
Precinct 3.
One.
Precinct 4.
None, make a motion to approve these.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, where you signed it. Okay. I do. Right here. No, here. You can take it. I can lose it between here and the end of the table. So, okay. So there we go. We got that done. Now, we have guests from out of town who...
Judge, we need a vote still?
Oh, yeah, I guess we would like to vote, wouldn't we? Thank you. There's a motion
In a second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes, and thanks, Louise. Item 37, receive presentation on tax abatement. This is in relationship to a company that has an interest in our area and other interests. You have a handout.
It's different.
Okay.
A new handout.
So which one's better, this one?
This one, it's just got a couple of markouts versus the other one. But this is kind of the background on the company. It's a British company, been in business more than 100 years. A couple of us know about the company. We've had a very nice discussion over the phone. We've asked them to come, and as is our policy, we hear about it, then we talk among ourselves about it and do our own reconnaissance, and then we don't act on it for at least one more court meeting. It is much like the Lufkin facility in that it's actually in the city of Odessa, which we're glad to say is part of Midland County, and therefore it takes both of us to act. It also has a little quirk in the state statute that says, should we say yes, Ector has to start it, and then they hand it off to us. That is the same procedure that was done in Lufkin. It just sometimes takes a little longer to get all the paperwork shuffled around. But the essence of the request is to build a consolidated facility here. And please understand, one more time, the nuances of the thing, they will be renters, but it will be a new facility in excess of $20 million. It will bring some jobs here. They're not at the level they currently are, so it'd be a ramp up, be new to the area. The discussion that I've had with the company is the standard consideration that we've given to other entities, and that is a 5-year abatement, should we approve it, reducing 20% a year. If the company sells, the abatement doesn't go with it. If the company closes, the abatement ceases immediately. It's non-assignable. So they are aware of that, and they've traveled far and wide, and we will get a presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions. But Odessa Economic Development is involved in a different set of initiatives, and those are all within their purview. They're not asking us to contribute anything other than consideration of the abatement. So with that, you both had strong coffee in Midland, you told me that. Who's going to go first?
It'll be me.
All right, well, if you'll step to the podium, and we ask each speaker to start with their name and address, and in this case, you're representing the company. Please state your capacity in the company and who you're representing.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I know you're all really busy. I am Andrea Simon. My personal address is Londonderry Terrace in Southlake, Texas. I moved into Texas about 3 years ago. It's been great. I am the Vice President of Finance and IT for the Oil and Gas Division of the Weir Group. As mentioned by the judge, that's based out of the UK. So walking through the presentation, I won't take up too much of your time because I think many of you know about Weir, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about the company, about our division, and then our project. So if you go to slide 4, Weir basically at a glance, We are a manufacturing company specialized in engineering equipment and services for the oil and gas, mining, and power industrial industries worldwide. It's a highly integrated company, vertically integrated from foundry, from buying raw materials all the way to producing the product and servicing out in the field. So unique to many organizations that it's so highly vertically integrated. Operates in about 70 countries with 214 facilities, and we employ about 14,000 people. So this project, again, the three divisions, minerals, oil and gas, and flow control, which is in the power industrial division. This project relates to the oil and gas division. Going to slide 5, I just wanted to give you some background about Weir and our commitment to the communities that we are in. We are in for the long haul. Typically long-term, and people are really a priority to Weir. It's been around 140 years, and you can't stay in existence that long without a priority to people. So first and foremost is safety. The first bullet here, our new CEO, who was appointed about maybe 6 months ago, our new standard statement is no business objective will take priority over health and safety. So it's been a very powerful point throughout all of our organizations, particularly in a business like us. It can be quite dangerous, not only on the oil field, but in our foundries and other things. So that has become a very strong priority. We've had a zero harm behavioral safety system in effect since 2014, and we are very proud to say that our TIR is 0.6, and we're even prouder to say it's better than GE, who usually claims to be the best practice company. So we like to be able to say that. We promote health significantly to our employees. We talk about the professional athlete, body and soul. So we give a lot of incentives for good decisions on smoking and healthcare and the like. And then very involved with employee development. We actually have a Weir University, mostly online, but a couple facilities. We have about 9,000 hours a year in training available to our employees. And then we do partner quite a bit with various colleges around the world to give our employees, particularly those with only high school education, the opportunity to earn degrees. Going to 6, again, Weir Group operates at the highest ethical standards, and very proud to say that. They're a member of the FTSE for Good, which is an index fund for companies who are hold themselves to this standard. And again, this year, really a strong focus, re-energized, I should say, and it's been a strong focus for several years on the environment in which we work. Oil and gas and mining is a dirty business, of course, so we've put a lot of effort into keeping us at the best of best practice standards. So we've had a 7% increase in our overall compliance with environmental standards in 2016, year on year. We have had no significant environmental incidents or penalties. We achieved a B on the Carbon Disclosure Project, which is a worldwide disclosure project on emissions. And we reduced our emissions 4% from last year. So a good story to tell. And then finally about Weir and our commitment to the community. We're usually in for the long haul. You'll see later a picture of the facility that we plan on building. We have a unique design to Weir, which always makes landlords a little nervous, but it's because we're committed to stay. So we have been involved worldwide in various community events, particularly in India and Zambia, in building actually a hospital and a school for the families of where we work, and then obviously involved in various community events, in all the cities that we're located in. Okay. So flipping to 8 and 9, I won't spend too much time on the oil and gas division. I know you guys probably know the industry better than me. But some of the brands that you may be aware of, Mathena, Seaboard, SPM, it's probably our most prominent brand in the pressure pumping business. Weir has achieved a #1 status in the pumps and fluid end product line around the world, so something we're really proud of. Our service centers are about 55. Unfortunately, in the downturn, we had to close many of the small ones worldwide, and we hope to build those up again. But when you'll see later in this project, we're probably going to consolidate quite a few of them as well. continually in the future. Slide 9 and 10, I won't go through them. It just kind of shows you where our main locations are, primarily in North America in the shale play, but we're definitely building a presence in the Middle East, not only in pressure pumping and pressure control areas, wellhead business, but also in the rotating equipment basis. And then you can see on page 11 kind of where we are in the most familiar site. So kind of moving on from Weir, that gives you a little bit of background of who we are. We, about a year and a half ago, have developed this new customer support center concept. We, not just in this area where we currently have 3 service centers in the Permian Basin, Weir has probably underinvested in a lot of its service centers over the last 20 and 30 years. And rather than spending a lot of money in tired facilities, we are going to this newer concept of, can we become more of a one-stop large shop for our customers and be able to provide value to them, that they can come to one place to get all their needs of the entire, frac truck or system that they're working on. So this new facility that we're thinking about building, or that we are going to build, basically lifts capacity constraints. It allows customers, again, to come to one-stop shop, and it allows us to put things in our distant service centers that we historically haven't. So as customers are becoming more sophisticated and more sensitive to time, they want more and more pressure testing, engineers, R&D, development on-site, close to their locations, rather than always having to go to our main manufacturing center in Fort Worth. So to do that, we need a much more sophisticated facility and actually not just sophistication from a technology perspective, but also from a customer view perspective. It needs to be a nice place for them to come and feel that their equipment is going to be taken care of. So with that said, I'm now on slide 15. We're basically saying in this area, we have 3 facilities that the leases are coming up. So we need to build a new, what we're calling a customer support center, a large facility, now estimated at about 92,000 square feet on 20 acres. And our choices, which later I show, we had several areas in Texas, Oklahoma, where we could go. Our final choices are here in El Reno. And the reason why we say El Reno is we have an existing facility there, a great facility and a lot of land to develop. So it's probably the best financial decision, to be quite frank, but it's not the best location. So that's why we're debating the 2. And really in this facility, again, we will have what we have now. We'll add a research and development center with engineers, and we will actually add, it's about almost 20,000 square feet of the facility will be dedicated to our new joint venture that we signed with Rolls-Royce, to basically be the first competitor to CAT in developing a complete frac truck from the trailer, engine, transmission, control system, and pump. So it's kind of an exciting newsbreaker that happened a few months ago. And then the servicing of those MTU and Rolls-Royce engines and transmissions would be done at this facility as well.
Andy, that was, if I understood from the phone call the other day, that was in response to an industry request, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Our competitors and our customers, are looking for a competitor to the CAT engine and the Allison transmission. And they can go buy them individually right now, but there's no one competing with CAT on that consolidated unit.
So this is in response to a customer request, and
Yep.
that's been incorporated in your discussion about the site. This is the site you want to bring that to.
Yep, so we'll be bringing a whole new set of skills with regards to engines and transmissions and lubes and things we all need to learn about. We'll actually have MTU and ZF, which is the transmission provider of MTU, owned by Rolls-Royce, on site in this dedicated area of the facility. So moving on to 16, to just give you a little idea of what we plan. I put a picture in there. That is it's not approved, but it generally, would look like that. Obviously, it goes through lots of lots of reviews. But you see the angled wall, that's kind of our flagship of our buildings, the white with the angled wall stone. All of our new buildings in Fort Worth and Milan and Dubai, Madison, Wisconsin, have this look to it so that we can kind of stay consistent. We're really trying to present to our customer a consistent message, consistent level of service. Not sure we'll ever get to the McDonald's level of consistent service, but we're going to try. We refer to it quite often. So that's generally kind of an initial picture of what it would look like. It is built to suit, approximately 92,000 square feet on 20 acres. It's a 15-year lease, costing between 21 and 22 million right now. And then the capital investment is around $7 million. It could potentially go up as we continue to design. But that's generally the project from a construction point of view.
Okay.
And, slide 17 and 17 kind of goes through, what it does for us. It establishes our first customer support center. We do plan on building at least 3 more, potentially 4 more throughout North America, and then closing some of the satellite service centers, which my boss likes to call popsicle stands. They're just difficult to keep running efficiently and hard to keep standards up to date in these small facilities. It will definitely improve health and safety. We have health and safety involved in all of our design meetings, in every aspect of that building and the equipment. Clearly reduces our carbon footprint, and then really ups our service capabilities and our technology, especially bringing R&D engineers out on site. So on slide 18, I listed our potential facility locations. San Antonio and Fort Worth were ruled out some time ago. And then I guess it's just kind of a repeat of what we would be bringing here. And again, the keys are the pump testing, the engineering development, and the centralized assembly. And that really is market driven.
Okay.
So going to slide 20 is essentially a summary of our request. We have the capital investment of, we could say potentially -$1 million if we move it to El Reno, because we won't be investing in our facilities here. Up to 7.1, that's the capital investment. The annual lease, as I mentioned, 1.4 to 1.5 for 15 years. The employee net change, we have about 100 employees right now in the 3 facilities combined. If we were to go to El Reno, it would probably be a net -40, as we would centralize there. And then if we centralize here, we estimate it'll be about 84, assuming no major drop in oil prices like we had over this last year, but ramping up another 84 over the next 5 years. And we hope to have this thing built by the end of the year. So that's our story, and we're respectively requesting the tax abatement.
Okay. So what makes this a little different than others we've looked at is they've actually quantified their negative employment and their positive employment, as opposed to, let's say, superfluous conversations we've had with others on other projects. Secondly, they're introducing a new competitiveness via the frac truck that has been requested by their current clients, which are all in Midland and the Permian Basin. And then thirdly, they list a number of incentives, but none of those incentives are in our purview except for the tax abatement. Okay? So if I've said that all correctly, invite questions or other speakers, if there's anybody else.
Well, I have a question on your annual lease. So you're putting in up to $7 million in capital. Is that on somebody else's property?
Yeah, when we say that capital, that's the cranes and the pump stand and the machinery.
So you're building out a current facility?
Excuse me?
I mean, there's a current facility that already exists and you're just adding to it?
No. This is the current facilities exist. There's 3 of them. Those leases are coming up. We're leaving them to the landlord, and this is a built-to-suit, brand new.
Okay, so the $1.4 million to $1.5 million for 15 years is, who is that paid to?
Schwab is the developer.
Okay.
And your equity, if I read it right, your equity is the cost of those cranes and others.
Yeah, the equipment.
That you're getting in the door price.
Yeah, and that's the initial one, and then we'll most likely have between 500,000 and 700,000 a year.
So I'm still confused. So is Schwab building the building?
Yep, they're building the building.
Okay, and what's that estimated to run?
That is it's 22 million.
Okay.
We're still tweaking.
I got you.
Yep.
As of last Thursday, it was 22.3.
Yeah.
And they'll be
that's the
recouping
right
their,
number.
they'll be recouping from your lease payments of 1.4 to 1.5.
Yep.
Is that a triple net, or is that, are you also paying CAM costs on top of that, and utilities and
Yeah,
insurance and
absolutely.
taxes
That's
and
all us.
everything on top of that?
Yep, yep.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier in your report that a lot of your growth in the past has been not only organic, but also through acquisitions. Have you acquired anybody in the Permian Basin, or are you intending to acquire anybody in the Permian Basin?
Not this time. Our biggest effort right now is getting this joint venture going.
Okay.
Effort.
If I can offer this, and you correct me, we talked about this on our conference call the other day. The visual for the court, what would it look like? It would look much like a Schlumberger Halliburton centralization,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Which was a combination of things. But in this case, you're a little different because you're actually bringing other divisions here.
Yeah, we will.
Or-
Not just the joint venture, but other services.
Or we hope you're bringing them here.
Yeah. We want to bring
Okay.
the pump stand, the testing capability, and then that's the primary addition,
Okay.
and then the R&D engineers as well.
And so how many of the employees will be professional as opposed to, say, hourly?
Oh, gosh, I should know off the hand. It's probably about 20%. I can get you the exact number. But considering the engineers that are coming down, I think it's going to be about 20%.
Right.
And if you get that number and get it to
Yeah.
us, we'll distribute it to the
Okay.
court.
And one of your pieces of jargon here is not familiar to me, the TIR of
Yep.
0.6. What does TIR stand for?
So that is the total incident rate. It's
Per
basically a
100,000 or per?
200,000 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the employment net change currently in the 3 facilities that you have here. My understanding is that you have about 100 employees, is that correct?
Yes.
And you also mentioned that the negative net change would only occur if you were to go to El Reno, Oklahoma. It wouldn't occur if you built here in Midland, is that correct?
No, if we build here, it'll go up. It'll go up each year. We'll keep those 100 and gain for these additional capabilities. I think additional capabilities and our market improvement expectations. But if we go to El Reno, we'll centralize those capabilities there.
So the negative number is only if you go to El Reno?
Yes.
So from here, it says a possible 84. So you're looking at 84 employees on top of the 100 that you currently have, is that correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
Wes, you want to say something?
No, I can't add much to what she's saying.
Start with the name and address.
Wesley Burnett, I live at 2808 Cassie Way in Odessa, Texas. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the Odessa Chamber in the City of Odessa. I just want to say I appreciate you guys hearing the presentation, and your support of the project would be greatly appreciated from Ector County and the City of Odessa and our side over there. Obviously, these are these interesting projects that are in both of our communities, so I really don't have anything other than we've been working with the company for quite a while, and I feel very positive about that. It would have a great impact on both of our communities.
And as you and I laughed on the other phone, this is not exactly a startup. They got a 100-year history.
No, it's not a startup. So,
Scott, you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Do you, can you share with us what the ODC did?
the ODC has got an offer together. It hasn't been approved yet, but it will be a cash offer for the retained jobs and the additional jobs, well over $1 million in incentives, plus the tax abatement. Negotiations are obviously just in the first phase.
Is the city doing anything?
That's the Odessa, well, the tax abatement would be the city's part. The
Okay.
Development Corporation would be the cash incentives.
Great.
And I think we're only one of 5 still communities that have the overlapping jurisdictions. But we've done it. We've worked through it before.
And we appreciate the
Okay.
cooperation.
Is there,
So you're not looking at two different sites in Midland, Odessa, you're looking at one site that happens to be in Midland County and Odessa,
city?
so not two sites, just one site?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
And because it's in the city, the road question goes to the city, if they needed specialty roads. But
I think there's access already to the site, so.
I think there is too. I got in there the other day, so. Anyway, but be sure you ask all your questions if you want material sent to you directly. It'll take us every bit of 10 days, or really, it's kind of on your timetable now.
Yes, sir. The city is beginning this phase tomorrow in a session, so, and then we go from there.
And there is no promise. This is just a discussion.
Is it oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Is it a secret who your customer is that asked for this kind of integration, or are there several customers out here?
Yeah, there's several customers, but the primarily will be, it was Weatherford until they stopped.
If you can get over near the microphone,
Sorry,
please.
it was Weatherford until they stopped their pressure pumping business, but now they announced yesterday that they entered into a joint venture with Schlumberger for pressure pumping. So, and we've already gotten called that Schlumberger is very interested as well. Canyon's very interested, BJ's very interested. I think in general, it's just a needed product.
Right, and these are things that they're not intending to do, that's why they're wanting you to come in.
Yeah, absolutely. They want this truck, they see this, they don't, even though it's a $7 million truck, to them, it's a maintenance item, right? They love the idea. And right now, there's nowhere anywhere in the United States where they can take a frac truck into a facility and have every component maintained.
Right, and so if this is successful here, you'll be able to do this, you'll be able to repeat this nationwide
plan.
in all the
Yep.
different basins probably.
Yep, that's our plan. At least 3 more, potentially 4 more in North America, and then we'll start in the Middle East.
Good.
Do you see any exports from this facility?
No, I don't. I think it'll be primarily the
In the
Permian
basin.
Yep.
This question hasn't come up yet here, but it will always come up in these discussions, and that is, are we bringing competitors? In this scenario, they're here currently.
Yes, Kat's here.
Yeah, all they're wanting to do is increase their presence due to their customer requests, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Sir?
I was just going to ask John about the cats. He's talking. He can hear me.
Okay, well, based on that, if you would, please share a number where you can be reached with each of my colleagues. And, or actually, I think Wes has got all your numbers. So Wes, you'd share it with the other members of the court. So if they think of something, they'll call you. And we'll just kind of move it along on our schedule. You won't see it till the next court. Depending on what's going on in your world, it may be the following court. But we'll get to it as soon as the ducks line up, one way or another.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate all your time.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And we would be remiss, since y'all are from out of town, we do have sales tax in Midland County. So if you need a ride to the mall or Best Buy, we can get you out there.
We are ready at 8.
Okay, with that, hearing no other questions, we do have one executive session item. Madam DA, we'd ask you to fill in as the court's legal counsel, and we will go into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 to discuss personnel matters. With that, if y'all will excuse us, and this won't take very long, I don't. Welcome back for the second page of the court agenda. Any action from executive session? Hearing none, is there a motion?
To adjourn.
Go ahead, Scott.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, we're adjourned at 2:34.